fuck? And the track you're hearing is Demetori, The Door into Summer. It's an insane track. Just re-listening to it and I hear things I didn't hear before. I think that's because of my headphones. But man, this track is crazy. Quite genty, I think, if you consider that. Quite modern metal as well, and I do like that. It's crazy. The leads stuff obviously quite unique, obviously it being slow at the start and then going into the main riffs. And just the chords as well was so interesting because they're almost chromatic, I think. They're not supposed to work, but they do. It's very weird. I remember transcribing this track and I couldn't figure out those chords because I was still quite new to this, but it really fascinated me. Yeah, I just thought this track is just heavy. It's just neat. It's just a Simpsons meme, I think. So yeah, it's like a very interesting aspect. Just Demetori, it's also like Demetori you've never heard before. As I'm kind of mixed on the modern stuff, it still is good. I still can't fault it. There are other tracks to come with obviously me sort of talking about it. But yeah, there isn't much to talk about with this. It's just a very modern take on assuming the what do you fucking call that? I don't know, a metal modern take on a Toho track. Something, I don't know. But anyway, I think that's all, so let's move on to the first topic. The hell? Well, this is insane. I didn't think I'd be covering this, but just based on what I've heard from Most Critical, it's really something that I've mentioned before about how corrupt the world is and how shit it is when it comes to addressing these problems. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the Lego scandal. Yeah, so this is a thing. But what do I even fucking start with? Just insane details on this case where seemingly a store corporation called Bricks and Minifigs, I think, yeah. It basically took someone's $200,000 collection of Legos to be sold, which was fair, like the middleman they are, supposedly, but it turns out they've taken it for their own greed and haven't actually paid them. Haven't actually paid the people for this and basically broken the contract. And there were some really suspicious dealings around this because now that the people who sold it, I think it's Ben, what's the name of the person who sold it, is being pursued by the police because of basically selling it, signing a contract and not getting any money in return. Like, it's just really fucking insane, and technically they were supposed to buy it and then sell it. So the money should have been through the moment that it was handed over, but it wasn't. So there's an entire kerfuffle where Ben is in the right and the store and the owners who've obviously taken the money are absolutely in the wrong. And it's been 4 different videos now from their channels, I believe, about this situation. And they're trying to do everything they can to get either the collection back or the money. But I think the collection is probably their priority now. And it's getting ridiculous because now, after 10 or so police fucking calls, the guy's got an arrest warrant on his head, Ben has. And according to the recent video, he's moved to Mexico, which doesn't surprise me. Although I'd have to say stay safe out there because you never know what Trump's doing. Could be his invasion next in Mexico, you never know. By the way, it's probably better to avoid a arrest warrant than do a fucking war. So yeah, thing I wanted to say on this is this exactly proves why we need anti-corruption laws and anti-corruption, or we just need punishment for corruption, essentially, is what I mean. Because on top of that, we can't just have anti-corruption and say, like, slap on the wrist, bad boy, don't take millions of pounds for doing this thing, but you need to do it through other means. It sort of reminds me of a real life situation, actually, which I heard about, and if I don't mind me reiterating the story. But I've heard people being falsely accused and then having their houses raided for some reason, and for whatever reason, they're the ones who got arrested even though they're the victim. Because there's a false accusation. Like, what? It genuinely doesn't make any sense. And this is obviously a sign of corruption, because even though there's likely not money involved, it sounded like a familial issue. So, literally, a family got involved, knows someone who works for the law, and said, get rid of this person for me. A sure thing, niece or whoever it is at this point. I don't know who it is. But that's exactly why we have so many problems here. People get unjustly arrested for seemingly no reason, and also get punished for it because also they lose their belongings, apparently. Just fucking ridiculous. Well, I'm someone who barely gets enough money, and I know I couldn't survive without technology at this point. Pretty much impossible. But that's why these situations are so bad. Because the corruption is very blatant. It reminds me of even the UK's recent big controversy around the police, which is to do with, well, actually not just how they release people early with lesser conditions, despite how bad they are. But it's also to do with the thing happened with Sega, I think almost a year ago now. Because I still remember that. And I think it was like one of the most blatant cases of corruption and bullshit I've ever seen. For UK standards. They literally raided people who found junk. They literally found junk in the scrapyard, and it turns out to be, I think, consoles or stuff, something with source code on it. Which even then, they're not even using maliciously. And then they get raided and have that confiscated from them for it. Which doesn't make sense. And it turns out a company mishandled the scrapping of this technology, and these guys are paying the punishment for it. Not the company who scrapped it, who should all be arrested for this, by the way. It's the people who found the junk to begin with. Like, come on, it's blatant fucking corruption. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say there might be a civil war, because it's not just going to be people against government, it's going to be people against police, it's going to be people against, like, many different things at this point. There's even going to be groups who are against just religion and not anything else. There's going to be so many things that prop up, and it's become like a fucking faction war or something. There's so many different people, and there'll be obviously pairings and stuff. That will happen for sure. But it's just so fucking blatantly evil. And this is what corruption does. It absolutely pollutes your mind, and let me look it up as well. What does corruption mean? Because people don't understand it, and the way I've understood it without looking at it, so I'm turning it away, it's basically when people lose the concept of morality or selflessness in favour of greed or evil. So what was it then? Corruption, decay, rot. Yep, that sounds about right, and the act of changing or being changed for the worse. Departure from what is pure, simple, or correct. So exactly what I said. This is why we've got so many problems. And it's the same in this situation with the bricks and minifix situation here. It's so blatant, so obvious, and yet nothing is done. The government is corrupt and nothing is done. This is the problem with having leadership. It's like you don't have a authority that basically says you can. Well, actually, it just needs to be like a Pokemon style situation, to put it into a simpler term, because they all counter each other, even with like their stab effects. It's the same type of attack bonus, but basically you got grass that counters, was it water? Yeah, why? Yeah, I think it's water, yeah. So I'm dying myself, but water that counters fire and fire that counters grass. So essentially you need the system in place where there's different authorities that can decide whether or not to obviously overrule things. So you have obviously the government who sees over people, but you have the anti-corruption organisation who doesn't take money from anyone except probably the government, and also probably donations are very good as well, because to be honest we need people not to be influenced by money and also be changed as a result, to have a good pay. So a decent amount of money each year is certainly a big way to do it, and obviously taxpayer money can go towards that. But they deal with the corruption stuff, investigate it and determine, okay, you're taking bribes from a Russian asset, you're going to jail, and you're going to have to pay that back into the economy. So it's just like, yeah, there's a way to deal with it, I think. But what if the anti-corruption is then obviously corrupted? Very simply, the people override that. So if people see a problem with it, see that they're not doing anything, much like the police as it currently stands, or obviously government, then people should be able to override corrupt authority and be able to arrest and sue them under legal means. So there's like a non-negotiable with this. So if it's investigated and it's proven, they've actually provided evidence, it's like a simple, yes, they are guilty, they have this evidence that is true and correct, then they obviously win, the people win, and then they replace the people there. So different people get in, and then they enact justice through the corruption, and that's just my sort of idea of a system. But obviously I don't know how we could deal with like people who are just corrupt themselves, and also a government who oversees that, other than like police getting involved. But I don't know, it's again something to be sort of figured out. But I do see it in a sort of distant future, potentially, and maybe even closer, where we have an authority that just overrides both, or all of it rather. And that'd be like the peacekeepers, the actual ones, not the police, because they're not peacekeepers, they're peace haters, more like, they don't fucking want it. But the peacekeepers, in my opinion, would be far better and far more justified in using force, for example. Because I could sort of see it in a case where there's actual criminals. There's a hierarchy of emergencies, so I guess at the top we've got like national emergencies, so that could be a war or catastrophe. Peacekeepers come along and help those people, and they have a decent pay. Below that you've also got, for example, terrorist and bomb situations where it takes quite high priority and prevention in it as well. So there are justified means, it's like, again, like almost like a police-like state, but search warrants. And also giving people like therapy, supposedly, so there's also the benefit of, rather than just imprisoning people, you just give them what they actually need to be rehabilitated, if needed. Although I'd argue it probably deserves deportation or something, or just permanent a prison sentence, but that depends. But then obviously below that you've got like mass murderers, and then standard murderers, probably dealt with a similar way. Although again, rehabilitation a bit more of a grey area, but then you've got abusers and violent people, and then down the line you've just got the more sort of bare minimum sort of things like theft, although that can be big sometimes. Like yeah, there's plenty of different things, like it's just illegal activities all over the place, and I don't even consider drugs like at the bottom, because when it comes to drugs it's not even a big problem as far as I'm aware. Just, it doesn't really impact people that much, other than obviously ruining their lives for addiction. But what I mean is, when it's regulated, it's not really an issue, and that's obviously the thing we should be advocating for. But people who have obvious problems or are dealing with it should be questioned and obviously arrested. So that's just my theory on that sort of thing. But once again, I'm disappointed in the state of the world. I really do think that there's a need for a reform of police and government, because the way it currently works is not good. It's fucking useless, it's stupid, it doesn't work. It's so unnecessary. So I just do not understand the reasoning here from anyone, but especially about the bricks and minifigs situation. Just doesn't make sense. Apparently having connections as well is, again, seems like corruption. Seems like the big thing with that. It's like they knew someone who knew someone or something. And that's what's happening, and they have to do it by whatever means necessary, hence the sign being destroyed by one police officer and not the other. But it also seems like a potato method, so one of them actually had a plan and said, like, okay, we're both in this together, so why not have one of us be right, one of us be wrong, and take the dive or something. And yeah, it's just like blatant corruption. This is why we'll have problems with this constantly. That's why we'll constantly see these issues prop up again and again. That's why even in the UK you see it where obvious domestic abuse victims are not taken seriously. There's obvious corruption, and it's also like a case where people aren't even doing, like, I wouldn't call it hard love, but you know, they're looking at these perpetrators, the abusers, and saying, oh, you know, they're just young, they're stupid, they're dumb and young, and they don't deserve prison time. Yes, they fucking do. These people are dangerous, they're harming people, they're harming the women and children, obviously. So we do need to do something about them. It may not even be prison time, but something needs to be done. Because they're obviously a problem, they're literally a menace to society, I think is the proper term. And again, it brings up the topic of corruption, because what are people thinking when it comes to that? It's also like, okay, maybe a police officer goes there, they should also send female police officers there, because honestly, I think that's all warranted. So you get the other perspective, and it's less likely to be corrupt. So you have cases where it's handled by someone who's obviously been there, who's had experiences, or at least more likely to have had them. And the same with people of colour. So when we're addressing a situation where there's like someone who's a person of colour who's committed a crime, someone of a different ethnicity as well, send someone along exactly like that, along with obviously a standard white police officer. And that just avoids a lot of the corruption. But no, they don't do that currently, and it's just extremely frustrating. So yeah, also it gets tiring every time it fucking comes up. Just don't understand the point. So yeah, I ain't got anything else to add, so let's move on. You want to know something interesting? Because I don't know how, but I've ended up discovering that one of my passwords is compromised, but it's like an extremely old one. And that got me thinking, I need to do a sweep, because I don't know how secure all my passwords are. I won't say the methods as to how I name them, or whatever you call it, or make them rather. But it got me thinking, I did a sweep, and yeah, it turns out it can lead to more compromises. So, being that I am into IT, I decided to come up with a method to name passwords. I'm not going to name it. But I think there is a lot of point to doing this sort of thing with your passwords. So, when you do a password sweep, you need to understand that it will most likely help you. And if you can write it down, and also like technically like save a bunch of things, like I don't know, it's also not related to the internet, like save pictures or even, like you can probably get away with it. Although you could probably do it with like a printer, for example. You can have a scanner and then you can back it up other ways. You can have it carried around somewhere, like, I don't know, not on person obviously, but somewhere you can probably store it safely, fireproof stuff. Because even then, it's like, it's a safety precaution. But I was really thinking with this that there isn't enough done to address these issues. Like, literally there's barely anything done to get rid of these problems where people have compromised passwords and they don't get addressed because, well, people seemingly don't care. And eventually it will come back and bite them, because that's what happens. People just get really sort of weird about this, I guess, but it's important. But I feel like I'm mentioning this as well, and also ways that you can help prove yourself and be able to succeed. So I think when it comes to being secure, I think you also need to have proof that you sort of always had an account with it and stuff. So if you ever go through the route of, oh, I lost my account to a hack or whatever, you can be able to provide the proof with older information that otherwise nobody else would have as of the time of the hack, obviously. So there's like more factors of authentication here rather than the usual, which is just convenience and technology based. But admittedly, you need to ask people for any sort of information related to you. So for example, if it's like the banks for that case, and really important as well, if somehow your account is hacked, then you do need to have the ability to, what am I thinking? Not coming to mind for some reason. But, you know, for banks, you need to have statements, that's it, and proof that you had set it up at a certain point. So maybe you ask your parents, maybe you made it in childhood, and you ask your parents for some old letters, and you go through it, find your letter, and you store it for safekeeping, obviously. I think that's pretty important. And obviously, depending on where it is, you can also upload it to a cloud or external device, so it's very secure. So you obviously scan it and stuff, and I think there's ways to do that. I think that's important nowadays, especially with the influx of just the amount of people trying to get into accounts. So I even remember, I don't even know if it was like a year or two ago, but somehow my Blizzard account got hacked into, even though it's secure, so I don't know what happened there. But someone managed to access it anyway, and I obviously changed everything on that, even though I don't use Blizzard accounts anymore. I don't even play Blizzard games. So, yeah, it just really rang alarm bells to me and how weird it is. Yeah, but this really did get me thinking as well, just how crazy it can be if you just let your information stay out there, especially information that itself is sensitive info. And I think that's like the biggest thing. When it comes to sensitive info, you literally cannot risk anything. I think there is a big danger to laying it out there, even just the slightest sort of pattern of password or anything. So yeah, it was a real wake-up call to see that being said. Yeah, it shows how important that security is as well. Because you never know as well, if you use one password it's just dangerous, and people wonder like, oh, how do you avoid using the same password to remember it? Well, you don't really, that's the problem. I think the only password you should remember is like a password manager. So that's like the priority. So you make something you can memorise, repeat it in your head, maybe even practice it each day, write it down, wake up, maybe, you know, have a coffee and then just sort of repeat it a few times until you get it, and even type it. And then eventually you probably master it, and then you've got your passwords all safe, all stored to memory. It's the same way I memorise my sort of phone number and very niche account details. You just end up memorising it over time. Just this time it's a series of letters and just weird stuff like uppercase, lowercase, symbols, numbers. Although you don't need to also do like a random thing like, I don't know, IOJ underscore up arrow. Like, you don't need to memorise that. What I'm saying is, memorise something only you can remember. So you just type it like a bunch of gibberish first, and you have gibberish in between each word, and that is really hard to actually hack into. Because obviously an entire fucking sweeper or whatever it is that hacks these accounts has to go through every single fucking phrase, even include foreign words, because that would help. But yeah, I think this is an important thing to mention here, especially these days with the amount of hacks going on and leaked info as well. So yeah, I think especially keeping up to date on your master password, as I call it, is important. So yeah, trying to think what else. Oh yeah, that was it, the emails. So I think another important thing is to make sure that you keep your secondary email, because this will be absolutely crucial to keeping everything safe. I think anyway. And the reason I think that is obviously because it's one of those things, like, you just need that to happen, essentially, to have a backup, to have other methods, and that will pretty much solidify another layer of safety, so that you have this thing to return to. Say you lose your email, which again is very important. I also don't recommend using the same email, and as Gamers Next mentioned recently, I don't recommend also putting your date of birth in places, because that can be used to recover accounts, again leading to a hack. So like, personal information needs to be limited. If you can lie about your address, do it. Like, it's possible to do that, and it's unfortunate for the people who obviously live there, but at the same time, it's a safety precaution. So I think you do need to try and make these things as secure as possible. So yeah, I don't really know what else to add there, but it's basically the best of my IT knowledge as far as I'm aware. I think there's a lot of benefits to this sort of thing. So anyway, I better move on and continue this as well. And also make sure you do deep virus scans, because fucking hell, been a while since I've done one. Probably should have done it long ago. But I do have like a scan every day, so it's not that bad actually. It's pretty important as well for security, because you never know what's hiding in there. Even just like images you've had or videos, whatever it is. Anything you've uploaded, even from your phone, it can even pose some risk. Because I don't think phones necessarily have a great virus sort of scanning thing. But anyway, that's my info on this, so let's move on. Well, it's Pride Month. Apparently the special month. They're going into the homophobes, transphobes, whoever it is at this point. But yeah, I don't really know what else to add to this, because I try to make something different every year. I've kind of covered most things except for like history. I guess I need to address like a more taboo topic, I suppose. Seemingly taboo, but it isn't in reality, because when I actually think about this, which not a lot of people do, the answer is pretty obvious. But LGBTQ plus in children. So I've known since I was 8 years old that I was attracted to boys and girls, and obviously that's been pretty much covered up in the snow, because I've never had anyone sort of explain it. I only had like, it's normal to be attracted to girls, but I didn't even hear anything about being attracted to boys. So it's like, okay, I don't know what to feel then, because it's a bit weird. Like, what do I feel about boys then? At that age, it's confusing. So I had no clue. And then on top of that, I was given talks about like homophobia and stuff, saying that it's wrong to be attracted to another man, or even just be in a relationship with one. And I was confused as to why that was. I just took my dad's word for it in that sense, that topic rather, and it still didn't really make much sense. And when I became an adult and I sort of explored it a bit more, obviously I realised it was wrong. You are allowed to be in a relationship with another man. So that really put it on its head, everything that I sort of believed. And even when I was in secondary school, I'd sometimes fantasise about certain boys in the school, say who, but I certainly have those fantasies where it'd be like, they're kind of physically attractive. It's just one of those things. And even then, like, it's not just the physical attraction as well. It's like mentally attractive as well. That was another thing. And the thing is, I was like 14 at the time, so again, this isn't as taboo as people make it out to be. It's literally natural, the same way that people can have crushes on a girl, like a straight person, whoever it is. And I imagine schools are a lot different these days because there's also more knowledge and awareness around that, and the sad thing is that people probably get bullied for it more. But back then, I think it was almost like a death sentence, so we almost had higher stakes in that way. So if there was ever a discussion about that, it'd be like, oh, well, you're gay? Well, you're a fucking weirdo, we're going to beat you up. Although people wouldn't attempt that with me because I think everyone was scared of me because of my build. It's quite a big guy, and me and my friends sometimes play fighters, but we just test each other's strength. And like, if he'll punch me in the arm, and then I'll punch him. And so I punch him, and he's got a bruiser. Rip. So yeah, there's some interesting things around that, but mainly the point of attraction is there is something physically or mentally about someone that can draw you towards them. And it's a bit harder to understand as a child, that I can admit. But it's even harder when people bring these opposing views, which in themselves are not provable, they're not even demonstrable. So when there are people saying stop sexualising the children for even teaching LGBTQ+, which it's not, because what would you say a boy attracted to a girl is then? Because if you're saying these things, which are very similar by the way, it's the same thing. A boy can be attracted to a girl. And then if they're attracted to a boy, what is that then? Because I can't figure it out for the life of me. Because all these homophobes always seem to put it forth that there's this idea that one is more sexually charged than the other. But it's not. It's not always even a physical attraction. So again, it makes no sense. It has never made sense. And even though mine was more weird enough about sexual attraction, so I was kind of active at that age, it doesn't make any difference. You get boys who are fucking sexually attracted to girls. So, again, these arguments don't make any sense. No matter how you look at it, it's always just going to fail in a debate, because you can't actually prove that one is different than the other. When they both do the same thing, they mean the same thing. And the only difference is obviously different gender. But even then, you have to prove the problem with it. So let's say that there is actually a problem. Okay, you can't be attracted to the same gender, so you can't have girl and girl, or boy and boy, whatever you call it. So, what then? What is the issue? Because again, I'm waiting for this answer, which so far no homophobe has even been able to prove, or even transphobe in those rare cases. So again, it just doesn't work. You can't actually describe the problem between them. But, you know, also the other thing, and it's really difficult as well, because not many people realise this, these children are in a minority. Just to put that into perspective, I think I've only ever heard of one gay person or rather lesbian throughout my entire school. And that was a sort of, it's like a rumour that was going around, so it wasn't even demonstrable. So just imagine how hard it is to be a lesbian in that situation. Again, it's extremely rare. Imagine nowadays it's much more common. But the point is, why are we picking on minorities to begin with, without a good reason? It's just fucking absurd. And yet, ironically, probably these people who are being homophobic towards children, of all people, like why children, I don't know, probably because they're police. That's probably why a lot of adults are just fucking pathetic. But you know, why are they picking on these children? There are actually worse children out there, and ones actually deserve to be picked on. Like, weird to say. We're talking about the children who bully other children or people, who think they can get away with things, who have actually committed serious crimes. Again, the point is, people direct these behaviours and beliefs towards just those who actually don't deserve anything, deserve to be treated that way. I mean, it's just absolutely horrific. So again, I'm just looking for the reason, what specifically about these sort of relationships is bad. You know, if, for example, two teenage boys are obviously gay and then go out with each other, what's the fucking issue? That's what I'm trying to figure out here. Because the way I see it, it isn't an issue. It's just going to be like the same as a straight relationship. You know, if they want to hug or kiss in public, that's up to them. There is no issue with that. Not if they get strange looks, that's for sure. But that's not even the problem. That's a societal issue. They're not the ones to blame for it. It's obviously society who is wrong. So when people like stare and they say, oh, that's wrong, that's sick, there's something wrong with you then. Because you're not thinking about this, you're not making a justifiable argument here. You've utterly failed and lost the plot. This is kind of why I've started to become an advocate for imprisoning people for just blatant misinformation or harmful information, which this is. To literally stomp on people's children's, you know, entire childhood because of this, because of being attracted to same gender or whoever it is. It's just fucking wrong. I take more issue with the girls who are attracted to adult men, which, believe it or not, we have plenty of at my school. It's fucking weird. Even though boys are also just as guilty with adult women, but it's still an issue. We should be criticising those rather than the point here being same genders. Again, makes no sense. But then there's this other topic that I haven't even touched on, which is transitioning. Again, I've brought this up many times before in the previous product as well. But transitioning as a child isn't that taboo at all. In fact, there's evidence saying it can literally save their lives in future life. Even just before they become adults, it literally is a life-saving treatment. And that's been studied. So, when people make this point that it's abusive to allow your child to transition, what are you fucking on about? Because you need to provide evidence for that. Because as far as I know, people who don't even teach their children about transitioning still transition. The children still transition. You want to know why? One is because of word of mouth, because that is one thing that happens. It happens all the time now. It's a younger generation thing. If you're too old to understand, keep the fuck out of it. Simple. The second point, I think if you know, you know. That's one of the things that I realised with sexuality specifically. But it's most likely the same with your gender. Because if you know there's something wrong or something different, it will click. It'll just be instant. It'll be like, oh, okay, suddenly for some reason I don't know if I feel like my obviously assigned sex at birth. And that can be something that's really normal because of a thing that exists called gender dysphoria. It's a real thing. And it just happens, sadly. I think if there was a solution where you could just be comfortable with yourself, people would take it. And then people act like that's the solution to these problems, but they don't provide the solution. It's just an act. There isn't any sort of medication that does this, or even treatment. So once again, it comes down to that. It comes down to this idea where people are making things up in their head and trying to find reasons to criticise parents or children for doing these very justifiable things like transitioning. People also seem to think it's to do with sexualising children once again. But here's where they're wrong. It's not. From what I understand of the transitioning process, you go to a doctor, you get referrals, you go to specifically like a type of therapy, not conversion therapy, because that's obviously not proven to work and it's very immoral. But they go to a type of therapy that addresses a specific issue, which is obviously gender dysphoria. And then they get diagnoses and obviously medications to treat the issue. So they go through a process there, which is the important part. It's not just like, oh, today I'm going to get puberty blockers. They have to actually prove it. So they go through that process and they get it. So, you know, a boy who wants to become a girl obviously have puberty blockers. But I'm not sure about like girls transitioning to boys, because that seems to be a very rare occurrence and it's also sort of a rare topic. But it's probably the same thing, just a different method. That's why a lot of this is just bullshit, because I understand people arguing from the point of, oh well, children can't consent. They can't consent to a lot of things, idiot. What are you fucking on about? They can't consent to going to the dentist when they don't want to. Can't consent to going to the doctors for an illness when they don't want to. Can't even consent to taking fucking medicine when they don't want to. The point is, this argument is useless so long as you look at it from a point of view of consent, rather than looking at it through what can be an effective treatment, obviously, for making them feel better, for even just saving their lives. It's just fucking absurd. And, you know, if the child is like suffering extremely like lots, I don't know how to describe it, because sadly this is a case that happens when there are children in children's hospitals, when they're suffering literal shit tons to the point where they don't want to live. Unfortunately, people are obliged to give them obviously assisted suicide, which again is like really sad, but this happens, and again that goes against consent. But I hate using that scenario, but this is a thing that happens, but it's almost equatable in a way. Again, I hate to say it, because it's like when you're not allowing children to transition, for example, it's almost like pulling the plug on them. That is literally what it is. Because there's a higher risk of suicide, there's a higher risk of being uncomfortable with their own bodies, especially as they grow up. So I imagine, obviously being a boy myself, or as a guy now, you know, like discovering your first pubes and obviously getting a bigger junk, that's not going to help in the case of gender dysphoria. it's going to make things worse. And you're going to feel even more uncomfortable with that. So again, it's just absolutely ridiculous why people argue from this perspective. And yes, I do realise there's also a question like, how do they know what a vagina is? Children have mothers. Children have sisters. Like, what do you think? How do you think you know where a vagina came from when you were a child? Or what it was, however. Again, people don't think. And that's the biggest danger to LGBTQ plus at the moment. As I've repeated before as well, the reason why people celebrate Pride, and even certain children do, is because if you're in a country where you have those rights, then you're justified in celebrating it. Because you've overcome overwhelming odds, which not a single straight person or cisgender person has had to do for that specific area, obviously cisgender or straight. And that's the difference, and people constantly point out, like, oh, where's straight pride? You didn't have one because you didn't have to fucking fight for your rights. But now, obviously, we have rights, being in a minority ourselves. We have the right to celebrate. And we also have the right to sort of express ourselves so that the world can see. They can see firsthand that there are countries where it's normalised, where they can actually have hope, that there could be change in the future. And that's why, again, people celebrate it. It's to send a message. It's to show support and solidarity. This is why it happens. And it's just absolutely fucking ridiculous. So I still remember, actually, weirdly enough, I remember back in, like, I think it was 2018 or something. It's back when the Oxcast were still in their old office, I think, and also Hannah was still in the Oxcast media. But I remember her, I think, briefly being in a Pride parade, just a march, and it's like live streamed and stuff. And then I remember them going for this march. There's like children in the crowd as well, obviously marching, which is great. And then some fucking idiot from the side was like protesting. I think it's a group of religious people actually saying, like, being gay is like a sin. It's just fucking ridiculous that people believe this shit. Like, somehow a belief of heaven and hell, or even just religion or God in general, somehow is more provable to them than it is than anything else. It's sort of more than the universe is like billions of years old, more than probably even something like time dilation, for example. A weird sort of mention, but you know, they probably don't believe in time dilation either. These religious people, it's so much pseudoscience and just, I don't know what to call it actually, it's just bullshit all over the place. So again, every single year it feels like people get stupider when it comes to addressing Pride. I'm not even a biased person in this sense, even though I am inherently pansexual and I do kind of identify as non-binary, just he/they. But again, I look at the evidence for these sort of things, and it feels like, oh, if I have an issue, let's say I have a paraphilic disorder, for example, something completely different. I'll look into it, and I'll determine, okay, if I have this, and it turns out it's actually wrong to act on it, to explore the behaviours, and obviously I'm wrong in that. And that's if that's provable. So, it's like, okay, I maybe have a bias there towards it, but I'm not gonna deny the evidence. I'm not gonna say that, oh, well, I also need to be a paedophile now, or something, or need to be some sort of I don't know, necrophiliac in a darker way. It's like, people don't understand the fucking science behind these things, and they don't look at demonstrable evidence, and that's why we end up in these situations. That's why everything just gets so lost in translation and taken out of proportion, for lack of a correct term. Pretty sure I've got that term wrong there. So yeah, I guess happy Pride Month again. It's going to be hard to top that off, I think. Topic of also exploring LGBTQ plus in children. Also mentioned there's going to be children who are intersex, because that's a real thing. People are born that way, by the way. So I don't understand why that's actually a thing that's being targeted now. Apparently, because like Africa or something decided that through their parliament that intersex people weren't to be given any rights. But why? I literally thought intersex people were born intersex. They have like different chromosomes, they have different whatever it is. It just makes no sense. But again, these people are not scientists, so they shouldn't be fucking deciding the laws. Like, fuck off. I think anyone in politics right now who's deciding based on whims or, again, the lack of evidence, I think they should just be taken out. They should be just taken out of the fucking position. Get hold of these places. And obviously in my ideal world, I'd be imprisoning people for spreading harmful information and trying to target people for the sake of, obviously, evil. And again, that's provable, ironically, which they're not going to be able to refute. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to add, so let's move on. So once again, I'm right. The police department, about the Lego scandal, apparently the Fork Police Department, like, God, what's the Knives Police Department going to do? But yeah, again, proven corrupt, and they've self-exposed themselves now. So only idiots would actually believe these things, but they literally redacted one of the most important parts of it, which is confronting the store owner, the previous one rather, and literally not getting the audio said from it. So I think one of the biggest points where they've absolutely fucked themselves here, as if the rest wasn't enough, is when they showed the footage of, I think they did anyway, not sure if they did show it in the video, maybe it was most critical, but they showed the bit where they were handing the notice to, was it Josh? Yeah, I think it's Josh. And they cut out the part again where they handed the notice and apparently he said no. Which is quite fucking suspicious. Because, as I've said before, in the case of transparency, and this is a different topic as well, but it's related, there's no transparency here, and this is why vigilantism goes on the rise. It's because people are fed up of the lack of transparency, or the misinformation, disinformation, whatever it is, and they have to investigate it themselves. But what do you expect? It's literally always going to be the case. So, it is just so fucking absurd. I just genuinely do not understand the logic here, because it's so ridiculous that we're in a situation where there is blatant corruption and nobody's pursuing that. Because that seems to be the biggest issue here. As far as I know, I forgot the name now. Ben, I think it's Ben. But he's been pursuing this, rightfully so, and been on the right side of everything so far. Not really anything wrong with anything he's done yet. And yet he's the one being accused of being a criminal, when it's obvious that from the evidence we have, Josh is the criminal, and this is irrefutable evidence. If I was to become face to face with one of these officers, for example, I would literally say, what's your evidence? You can't arrest me without your evidence for this. And again, that's a hard point to refute, because you literally have to show the evidence. And I don't think it's even lawful to arrest someone without said evidence. You can't arrest on necessarily suspicion without evidence. Something that I know that happens in the UK, because yeah, some people are suspicious, and rightfully so. But you need an ounce of evidence to prove that. So that's why that happens. Here it's like, you're suspicious, you're going, and no proof around that. So it just doesn't make sense at all. I'm trying to think what else there is to say. Yeah, I just find it extremely disappointing that we see the crap just so often. It makes no sense ever. And no matter what, it just feels like the world's getting more and more corrupt. Like it really needs to get its arse into gear, and people actually need to become the authority rather than government, because government cannot be trusted anymore. That's pretty much obvious. And on top of that, ironically, the people who would agree with that would be people like anti-vaxxers. Because they all think it's a fucking government conspiracy, don't they? So already you've got unlikely allies, even though they're stupid. Because there are so many enemies in society now, and the enemies are obviously government. And that's why we head to these conclusions about there being corruption, there being an ulterior motive. It just doesn't surprise me. It's not shocking that this happens at all. I think it's just even more shocking that it's so blatantly obvious. It's ridiculous. Just, I don't understand anything now. Just law doesn't apply anymore, and morality doesn't apply anymore. It's all sort of fucked up and confused. There just seems to be nothing here that makes sense anymore. And then you've got idiots who actually consume the media, get this algorithm that supports a specific agenda, and then it's like, oh, they're off the rails on that now. It's just like the idiots who believe that immigration is a problem, the idiots who believe Trump is going to make America great. What am I supposed to say? Again, it's fucking absurd. This is a problem, which is why we see so many issues. And yeah, the internet, whilst it's done favours for us, it's also done a bunch of hellish shit for us as well. It's caused us so many problems. This reminds me, I've got a post on Blue Sky here that's all saying the amount of millionaires from, I think, is it different car companies probably? I don't know, it might be gas companies actually. But it's so absurd, because you see the top 3 billionaires in the world: Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg. And Elon Musk is on his way to be a trillionaire, which is just fucking absurd. I'd see that numbering up and think, that's too much money for one person to have. He could buy anyone. He is a danger to fucking society. He already is. He's already incited violence in the UK. He's already broken many international laws and even stopped. Actually, no, he's published rather Grok, which has obviously been involved in a bunch of different lawsuits now because of how controversial he is. Obviously, posting about, underage children, posting underage children rather. That's where we're at with that. But nobody's actually pursuing the legal grounds here. Instead, people are just sitting by either, especially governments and authorities, and they're not acting on it. Where you should be obviously and blatantly arresting someone who's dangerous to society, again because of lots of money, they're not doing that. You also seem to forget this guy can just buy anyone or anything he wants. $1 billion as a drop in the pond is not even much money. But even going lower, $1 million, it's like not even a penny to him. So, as I said, dangerous. anyone could be bought with that. And if you're somehow able to divide the number somehow, I'm not even sure how you do that. Like, again, the net worth, so, because obviously it's $800 billion. Yes. If you're able to divide that into an amount of people to cover whatever it is, like a cost of living or whatever, no doubt it would fucking support them. I already did that calculation a while ago about something. It's like 333,000 people could benefit from, I think it was like a energy bill thing, if you just tax a billionaire for 1%. And again, it just doesn't make sense. Why is nobody doing this? Nobody's doing a wealth tax. Nobody is, again, pursuing on legal grounds to arrest someone like this. And in my opinion, one of the things we've got to see, if we ever do see Democrats in the US and even like left wing in the UK and wherever else it is, we absolutely need to see them dealing with billionaires so that we can help people. It's one of the biggest problems we see. Ironically, it's the same thing in this topic, where it seems like someone's got very greedy and is rich, and then it's basically trying to downplay everything to basically get rid of criticism or whatever it is. Let's get rid of someone who's pursuing very legal and rightfully so like means to get their money back or their possessions. It's just ridiculous. But also, like, tying into the likely corruption, there's also another thing I saw recently. Apparently it's the UK being very corrupt in terms of dealing with people. So apparently Hassan Abi has been banned from the UK, I think. Is it? Or is it someone else? Kink Hugo, I can't pronounce the name, sorry. I've been banned from the UK. I tried to get on a flight to London to attend the SW London, the speech in Oxford. I've been banned for criticising Israel. Are we free anymore? The oppression of Western citizens by our own governments on behalf of a different country. And Hassan saying, the UK revoked my visa as well. All at the behest of Israel. The West is betraying liberal values for a genocidal fascist foreign government. Soon we will all become Israel. Yeah, sounds about right. Also, it's not right though, that's the thing. It's also fucked up and corrupt. You know, if we're not allowed to criticise a country, then what are we doing? It's like if we criticise Russia and we say Putin's an evil person, he should be taken out. And then you get arrested for that. Well, it's on everyone's minds. Everyone is literally thinking it. Everyone's hoping that at least Russia will be defeated in the near future. And yet if you get arrested for that, like, what the fuck are you even doing? You're not serving any purpose. You're arresting someone for what is essentially words that lead to how much amount of harm? Because that's the question, yeah, what harm does it lead to rather? Nothing. Same way you criticise Israel, nobody gets harmed for it. Like, I've literally seen people say online that Israel should be nuked. And yeah, they don't get arrested. So there's like a big double standard here, and it all depends on the amount of money that you have, I think. Just quite obviously why they've been banned. It's just fucking ridiculous. This is the amount of corruption we have. And this is why people even get into more shady dealings now. I'm not going to be surprised if we start seeing it become more commonplace in the UK for citizens to be carrying around guns that they've gotten from the black market. Why? Because nobody can be trusted anymore. Police cannot be trusted. If an officer's going to arrest you or threaten your life, they have the right to defend themselves. And nobody's going to defend, obviously, them. If an officer gets shot, who the fuck cares? the officers are corrupt. Obviously, it depends on what they're doing. It's just fucking absurd. The ones inciting violence are the billionaires, and obviously in this case Israel. They're the only ones inciting the violence here. This is fact. You can find it online, you can find it in their words. It's just ridiculous that this is something that's happened. That again, they're revoking a visa, they're revoking access to the UK because of what they've said online. It's so fucking bad. Just to put it into perspective as well, if they were like criticising a minority, if they dropped the M word or F word, and in my audio world, I wouldn't even ban them. If they were saying it like more frequently and to actually invoke harm, then yeah, I would consider it. I'll consider banning them, but they're not doing this as far as I'm aware. They've not even said something like nuke Israel. They've not even said anything that's anti-Semitic. So what is going on? Again, blatant corruption. I don't even know what to add. It's even crazier as well that we have simultaneously things happening around the clock as well. We have obviously data center issues, we have climate change being extremely alarming now because it's literally turning into an emergency. At this point, it is literally the end of the world at this point because what the fuck else is there? And we're going to see a more hellish state because of the way the planet's been treated, the way people have been treated. It's just not going to surprise me, and people are going to give into their corruption. As will I, to be honest, because I just can't fucking stand this world anymore. I'd rather get into my deepest, sickest desire for a moment in time, or just as long as possible, and then ignore everything else in the world. So I'm just so fucking sick and tired of it. It won't surprise me if everyone else is like that. It just does not surprise me. It's so fucking bad. Anyway, don't have anything else to add, but that's essentially it. So yeah, let's move on. So, this is a strange thing that's happened, and I'm going to need to reread things I've read about this. It relates to the Green Party. Somehow. Where do we even go? Like, how do I even look for HYPERSKY's page at this point? There it is. Okay, so there's a parody, Zach? Okay, because but there's a bunch of people saying, and they shared a message about the fire arrays in London, about the EHRC code of practice on services, and they've made I think a good point. I didn't actually read it, sort of know what it's going to say anyway, given the good response. The Fire Brigades Union. And then there are a bunch of comments against Zach saying, why no Green representation at the Code of Practice parliamentary debate today? This is vital to our community, and whilst the words are great, now it's time for action. That is weird. I don't know if that's true, but many people are saying it. And there are other people reflecting the same thing. Why there are no people at the debate, or no MPs making a statement about the EHRC guidance, how we're going to push against it. Yeah, it's just very strange, and apparently the Lib Dems were there as well. So what the fuck is going on? I'm genuinely confused. Because I'm pretty sure there are Green MPs, and they should have actually had obviously a swing in Parliament. They should have been there. Again, I don't really know what this is about entirely, but it has to have been a big deal. Like, I don't know what exactly is happening here, and it's sort of hard to say. But yeah, it's just very strange. It's like, if I do a Control F, the comments like EHRC, it's like there's actually 8 of them. And again, this seems like a fucking mystery. Like, what is going on here? What's the actual reason exactly? So there has to be a reason. I'm not even going to defend the Green Party here, but again, there should be a reason for this as to why they won't attend said debate. And given that they left the Liberal Democrats just supposedly, it just doesn't make sense. So I don't know what the fuck they're even thinking here. It's kind of concerning in a way, and it makes me wonder as well, just what else is that they're up to. Like, is there some sort of thing behind the scenes we're not aware of? Maybe they are corrupt, like, you don't know, and it leads you to getting very concerned about the situation here, about the problems. And then we look at the Green Party England and Wales. Again, more of the same. It's just, again, the same things, more replies. Let's go all the way to the bottom. EHRC, 18 mentions. Like, this is fucking insane. This is 18 mentions of like 46 comments, which is a third. So it's very strange. Although it's the same people, to be honest, but I don't know, that is extremely concerning. Like, it's not like I ever distrusted the Greens in any sense. They were doing the right things for the most part, but something obviously has gone wrong here because they didn't even go to this debate. So what is going on? And it's pretty counterintuitive as well to be celebrating Pride when this very topic is discussing the fucking livelihoods of LGBTQ plus people and minorities. Again, it doesn't make any sense. I've already seen people taking the exaggerated route, which is to not actually support the Green Party anymore, but it just makes me wonder as well, who else even is there? Because I've said this before, this is like one cock-up, and the major one of that. But it is far from the biggest fucking cock-up they could have done. Because I've heard nothing from the Liberal Democrats. Literally nothing. And I would have voted them in a tactical vote, and I wish I did, because it wasn't that close in where I was, but it still would have been worth it. Even then, I don't hear anything from them. They don't do anything as far as I'm aware. And yet they're a better option than Reform by a long shot. So it's all extremely concerning. Again, it leaves me very worried, and this is just one of the few things that could have gone wrong that is also really bad. And obviously there's also the controversy before this, which was the sharing of a post, which wasn't even really that big of a deal. Sort of get where they're coming from, but idiots took it the wrong way and decided to suck the dicks of corporate media and say, oh, Zach's wrong. Zach is an idiot. And I also have my own disagreements. Sorry, that's a good sign anyway. I also have my own disagreements about the comments he made on the Golders Green situation. It still isn't the worst thing that could have fucking happened. People need to wrap it around their heads that you're not going to get the win by doing this sort of shit, by throwing a tantrum. You're going to get it by standing strong, standing together in that sense. And ironically, one of the ways to do that is to stand with the party who does the most for that group, the amount of rules that they have. So, wealth tax, supporting other minorities, supporting women, supporting children. So, like, free education, free schools, like anything like that. And that's what the Greens stand for. They are actually a party of the working class, from what I understand of it. But people will then again throwing these tantrums and saying, no, I'm not supporting this anymore. Because of one thing they did. A singular thing. This is why we're so divided. What fuck, I wouldn't even care if they just stopped caring about the... God, I'm watching a video, some cunt putting bleach on cat food. Somebody should kill her. Anyway. There's just so many issues around this bullshit here. Around getting divided. Like, they could say something about autism, which I'm very much autistic. They could say something bad about it. It could even be ableist, use a slur, whatever it is. But I wouldn't really care. At the end of the day, it's like voting for the lesser evil. And then not voting at all is just giving the win to someone like Reform, which again makes you more complicit, as I've had to say many times now. Especially since the lack of voting that seems to have happened with the recent local elections. So, yeah, it's just a really disappointing situation, obviously. But I'm surprised to see it, in all honesty, given what they've already sort of done, how well they've done it. And obviously, it's just turning their back on everyone. They'd be rich as well if they posted a like sort of YouTube short or whatever today. See, again, I'm not sure what's going on there. What the hell happens? Can I even look this up? Where were Green MPs at the EHRC debate today? Because I wonder if anyone's reporting on it. Former Green Party urges even the right one. The MPs debate changes the LC guidance. Stories unavailable. Yeah, homepage not available on that. The MPs note for Green response to HRC guidance of 2025. Like, that doesn't work. Like, there's nothing there. There's apparently this LGBTQ plus politicians in the UK. What the fuck? That's crazy. I'm surprised how many Conservatives are. 1955 or what the fuck? That's insane. Why was this a thing? Obviously they're not going to be like, what do you call them? You know, the Prime Minister, that's I couldn't find the word. It's also not going to be like that, but still, this is quite fascinating, really. Ministers in the House of Commons, Cabinet in the House of Commons as well. I was just looking at. There's quite a few in the House of Commons, huh? That's pretty nuts, again. Surprisingly, I could see the trend of like more women as the years go on. Yeah. Also, that's good. I think there's too many men in politics anyway. It fucking grosses me out, but still, not every woman in politics is actually decent people. It's like tons here, like, it's fucking nuts. What the hell is this? It's like, it's list of the serving ones as well. Is there even any green? Yeah, there is. A few, actually. Quite a lot more than I was expecting. Played some one as well, nice. Yeah, it's quite fascinating actually. Brexit pie. Nope. Fucking assholes. It's surprising that they're all, even like LGBTQ plus people, in these sort of far right politics, which is saddening. But yeah, again, I don't know what the fuck is going on exactly with this EHRC thing. It's just so weird, and imagine bringing this to the table, this Wikipedia page about the LGBT plus members, LGBT, it says, unless I don't understand what it is, but again it says at the top, like gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans. And also, it's possible that there were trans men in here as well in the past, which is another crazy situation if true. But yeah. I don't really know what else to add, to be honest. I just think that this situation sucks and it needs to get addressed, in all honesty. I don't think there's really any good coming out of this, and I just hope there's a response quite soon, because this frankly seems fucking ridiculous. It feels like it literally is an atrocity being committed in front of our eyes. And yeah, also it's like a big thing, I guess. It's just happening. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to say, so let's move on. So, there's still no news on that EHRC thing, except for like a post being shared, which is a parliamentary draft of code practice on services, whatever this is. I'm not sure what it means. But it's just, this is the only thing in the last like 15 hours that's been shared, and Zelensky is saying, I stand with trans and non-binary people. This is a difficult, scary time, and the government, it's misspelled there, must reject the framework. It's vital that everyone is treated with dignity and care, and far too often trans and non-binary people aren't. Solidarity always. This is fair, but as people are pointing out, you weren't there to defend us yesterday. Nobody was, it seems, other than apparently Hannah. I'm not sure how true that is though. I forgot the Hannah MP, she's a bomber. Hannah Spencer, that's it. But again, I don't know what this is in reference to exactly, so it's also making me wondering about what some ways you can provide protection for trans people, if you're in a community with trans people, or obviously have outlets. I think it's really important to connect with those people and then have literal, assistance with day-to-day life, because the way that they want to obviously divide us, divide trans people and obviously normal people, is by biological sex, which itself isn't accurate, because some people are intersex and some people don't even have one. Like, it is rare, but that is something that happens. So one of the methods I think that can really help in this situation, although it sucks, is to just always be around allies, always have allies to help. Because I think that's really important, and also I think for the most part, I think if you are in like a sort of transitioning phase, I think you should probably wait until you're obviously in that position where you just really pass as someone like that, until obviously they start asking for ID, obviously, where they can actually prove, again, they assigned sex at birth. But I think for the most part it is safe at the moment, but I could be wrong. I think you just need to be very wary of things. So obviously in the transitioning process of being a woman, I think if you have top surgery, if you're starting to look much more like a woman, I hate to say that, but that is unfortunately the way that people go with this sort of topic and how they will use it against you. And I think you have to be obviously around people you can trust, because I think going anywhere alone is a risk in itself. And I think that's sort of why it's worth connecting with communities if possible to, like connecting with a local community. Like for example, you can look for a local group online and explain, perhaps anonymously, that you are a trans woman and have maybe mental health issues, I don't know. But you need to have conversations with people who are willing to stand by your side and protect you even. Also when it comes to a public event, for example, like so some reason now you're forced to do men events, so I don't know what it could be, like maybe it's a man's only chess tournament or Warhammer, whatever it is, and now you're considered a man sadly as a trans woman. I think you should go with another cisgender man essentially, so you can feel protected and feel like you've got obviously someone to fall back on, so that people won't discriminate against you. And as is another case I've seen, people won't be tempted to commit sexual assault, which is a very real risk of having trans people in these spaces. It even goes the same for trans men, I imagine. Like, there is still that risk. So, yeah, again, it's being safe, being on the safe side, and even if you do comply with the law, I think you need to obviously take those steps to make sure you're protected, and maybe there's even an opportunity to learn self-defense. That's possibly something as well. I'm sure there's people out there who would be willing to just stay by your side, wherever it is. If you need to go shopping, if you need to go somewhere, depends really. Depends where it is, but you'll be fine in that. But especially I think toilet trips, like, you know, if you're forced to use the men's bathroom for some reason as a trans woman, again, just don't be afraid to ask like a friend or someone to help you to that. Like, have like that sort of connection. Let's say, oh, I need to go to the toilet now. Oh, excuse me. And the friend does the same. So yeah, that's pretty much fine. Because I think the friend could obviously protect you and look over you, and also that gives them an opportunity to obviously use the bathroom as well. So it's like a win-win there. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say on that, but that's the sort of situation we're looking at. But I think as for the Green Party thing, again, it just doesn't seem very good. Again, the fact that the Lib Dems were at the debate, but the Greens weren't, is still bad. Just waiting to see what other news comes up, because at the moment I'm not considering cancelling my membership, but at the same time, I think with the amount of fumbles that have been happening, it's like, okay, the hope is sort of waning now, and people are starting to notice it as well. Even then, the Lib Dems are still far more popular than the Green Party, which is also somewhat sad given how much of a rise the Green Party has had. So yeah, I don't know what else to add, but I need to move on. I need got stuff to do rather. So I'm about to shit myself, so let's move on to the next topic. I wasn't sure to make this or not, but it could be worth discussing. Basically, with the Green Party thing that happened recently, with them not appearing in Parliament, I almost said court for a second, so what the hell? That's new. But no, they didn't appear in Parliament to discuss the code of conduct stuff with whatever it was. To be honest, I can't remember. Probably my bad. But my god, it's become a whole sort of controversy in itself, and it doesn't surprise me that it is, but at the same time it's like, I don't know, is it justified? And I'm trying to figure out, one, where the fuck this stuff is and how it even came to be. It's like the biggest issue I see with this is it just doesn't look good for them. People are already cancelling their bloody subscriptions, I think it is, or whatever the membership stuff is. And I've been waiting for a response, and for some reason, instead of doing what's essentially crowd control, I don't know what to call it, or damage control, Zach is actually just acting as if it doesn't exist, as if this controversy isn't an issue. There's no statement, and that seems to be the biggest problem. What the fuck is that? So it's something weird out there. It's just weird. But, you know, I don't think it's very hard to make a statement, and of course I'm waiting for someone to explain something if we are wrong. But you know, someone did explain something, but it isn't exactly correct either. So apparently it wasn't a parliamentary debate, which means that it didn't, or rather they weren't obliged to come. But the problem still remains. And even though someone said it was like blown out of proportion, which I don't know if it is, to be honest, it's quite a big deal, given that they've already been on the side of social justice and have made that point in their manifesto and in words. But it is a big deal, no matter what. So, in one way, I can understand the post saying, yeah, this may not be a debate, but that's the only point you've got. Because it's not. Like, it's a big deal when people who are fighting for your rights, supposedly, are not even turning up. Like, it's just a massive injustice. So, again, it's just absolutely absurd that we again have a sort of divide problem here. Like, people are already believing that the Green Party's like betrayed them. And that in itself is an issue. We shouldn't be having that. Like, what the fuck? But as someone else also said in the comments in this Blue Sky post I saw, it's about them needing to make a statement as well. Because it's not just about, as I've interpreted it anyway, about just, you know, attending. It's also about showing your presence to show you actually give a shit. Like the Lib Dems seemingly did, and even some Labour members apparently did. Though I doubt the actual people who were fighting against this were obviously favourite it. I think there's a whole load of bullshit there. Like, there's apparently a speech, I think, from Farrage, from his rare fucking appearances, and apparently Rupert Lowe as well, which is, again, not great, because they obviously don't have the correct information on this, as we've known countless times now. It's pretty much been disproven, so they've probably just peddled the same shit that they've heard before. And there was another thing I saw that was very interesting. I believe it was Hannah Spencer, so sorry if this isn't actually Hannah Spencer, but she mentioned in a post, I think before attending, that she was asked to come to this parliamentary thing, and I think she did, if I'm not mistaken, but it's like a different part of it. And, you know, essentially she has a constituent whose sister is a victim of a grooming gang, which is probably UK, to be honest, like, you know, British grooming gang, I mean, but I can't obviously make too many assumptions here. But, you know, attending that is pretty important, not just for the constituent, but everyone involved in this. It's about victims at the end of the day. And that's the biggest thing here. But it's also great that someone has come out obviously speaking about it. Someone who, from what I've seen anyway and what I've heard, actually has a brain in their head. Because it feels like a lot of people don't at the moment, especially politicians. When enough that can be said for some people in the Green Party, but that's another topic entirely. My fucking god, this has been one whole controversy that's just kept taking, really. It's like taken away from so many important narratives that we do need to be having, need to be discussing. And, you know, I'm sick and tired of it. In a world where we don't have these fucking dramas, it's probably going to be a good thing. But when they'll come, or whether, where, like whom, it depends. But again, I think I agree with people still when they say there did need to be a proper statement. There needed to be rather presence. So yeah, and also we can't also disregard the fact that there are probably people that feel, because, you know, the world's just getting worse for illnesses, it seems. Or sick leave, or whatever you call it. There's a very real probability that somehow of the few Green MPs there are, all of them are just ill. It's entirely possible. Because again, that's sort of the problem we're seeing here. Just people being actually realistic. Like, you don't want them to come to Parliament and they have fucking hantavirus or something. Fuck that. That'd be absurd. I doubt anyone would have hantavirus here, to be honest. Even Ebola. She haven't looked up on that war in a while. God, that reminds me of a post I saw recently where they're trying to. I think they've actually found a treatment for heart disease, I think. And I'm just sitting here thinking, you do all this, but you don't even suggest something like dietary changes. It's very strange. Because nobody even mentioned that in the comments section. I'm just thinking, what the fuck are you doing? You're not going to have change if you just pretend like the solution isn't already there. Because it was, although it's obviously not a one-size-fits-all solution, so it's good. I'm not faulting the fact that the existence of it is good. But it does make me worry because people are just going to take the easy way out. And it's the same thing we're seeing with Ozempic and Manjuro. It's just ridiculous. I just do not understand the logic here. People really need to have that, I guess, willpower, for lack of a correct term, to make those changes, to make decent changes in their life. Even if it is more difficult, it can be better in the long run because, again, it's the more natural way, and that doesn't always mean it's a good thing, but in this case it is. You know, if you're losing weight, you've got to keep the muscle on you. You've got to do it naturally. But if you lose weight quickly, you'll still end up with problems. You'll look like fucking zombies, and yeah. I'm surprised if we've already seen that. I'm not sure if we are, but I don't know. That's also how we see the issues. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to add, so that's about it, I believe. In a sec, yeah. Been a while since I talked about the restore reform policy, by the way. Probably not, to be honest, in some ways. But I find it absurd that these parties exist because it feels like they literally are one of those things, or those parties rather, that sounds like a joke. Like both of them are, reform and restore, and also Labour, as is common practice now, really. But I got thinking about what it is that you could say to voters. I keep thinking about it. So what can you say to them to make them know that they are obviously wrong to vote for this party, or just frankly immoral? And I was thinking along the lines of two things. One was about patriotism on the left, which is actually stronger than on the right. So I'll write that down quick before I do the other one. So that's one of the things. But the other thing which I think is also important is gullibility. Because the way I see it at the moment with these parties is, it is literally the gullibility of people who look at this content, who consume it, and then believe it just verbatim. Or rather, master verbatim, as I'd like to call it. And it's just fucking really bad, because people just consume it. They don't really think about it twice. Because nobody has to in this day and age of TikToks, and because they are like a sort of brain rot platform, TikTok Shorts, whatever it's called, at this point, whatever it is, it's therefore a problem. And that's why we've got so many issues here, I think. But also, it proves that these voters also are probably the type of people, or the type of idiots in school who never actually concentrated, who never learned anything, who never went on. They probably did get out a lot, but probably not doing the right things. They probably had criminal mindsets. And you can definitely see that reflected in some of the behaviours and even then the crimes that they've done in certain places. So they are not just the party of voters who are gullible, they're the party of voters who are literal criminals, which I think is very revealing and quite shocking in a lot of other ways. And also, they're probably the same people who bully others just for the sake of it. They're completely apathetic, and that's what the main issue is. So, that's one of the aspects of it, which I think does need to be addressed, and somehow needs to discuss that. And I hope other parties do sort of discuss that as well. But I'd also have to make the point that the other issue here is to do with how other parties just don't encourage a fair voting system or a fair voting agreement. So I think one of the biggest things I'd do to sort of rewrite politics in not just the UK but the world is to make sure people understand what the fuck it is it stands for. Because a lot of the time people don't get into it because it doesn't actually sound that interesting. I know a lot of people who don't like politics. And given the lack of votes we've seen in the local election, I think that's further proof. I think that reveals such a big problem in just the voter base. It's the same as like a lot of these voters possibly even being ADHD or even learning difficulties, and they obviously turn down this route of like dark and evil, which is obviously a massive fucking issue. It's the same thing here, I guess, because people just don't understand what it means to vote. You might be a fucking gamer, you might even enjoy your TikTok content, but the fact is, depending on who you vote for, you may not even get that, you may not even enjoy that. It's really one of those things. You need to concentrate, you need to focus and understand on these things as much as you can, possibly can. Because at the end of the day, it could be your rights, it could be your TikTok, it could be your gaming, or whatever the fuck it is at this point. It's just gonna go and fucking bite you. And that's why I feel there's gonna be a lot of problems. So, if they can focus on that, I'm not as up to them, but at the end of the day, I'm just advising people what the best course of action could be. So that's not one of the other issues I see there. Then the next thing, which I also think is probably equally as important, and is something that also is hijacked through recent anti-migration things in the UK. But for some reason it seems to be a thing where patriotism is brought up a lot, and also nationalisation, if that's even a thing. I can't remember actually. But yeah, I want to renationalise, I think, UK, whatever that means. I'm pretty sure it means just putting UK people in the UK. That's it. That's the British people where Britain is, and vice versa. But there is a problem with this logic, because they are not actually patriotic at all. I think if you do care for your country, you would defend it as well. Like, I think you have to do it through means of not being violent or hateful. I think that's like extremely important. And when I say that the left is probably the best for patriotism, I literally mean that, because the only way you're going to see someone who's left-leaning, socialist, whatever the fuck you call them, waving a flag of their own country is if you make them happy. But not just them, other people. People who are ultimately affected by policies that are in place. And if a left-leaning / progressive government can even do that, then we're more likely to see others waving that flag. And then, and this is the big thing, because not a lot of people realise this, then we prioritise British people. Something that all parties have in common here that I've noticed. It's not like we're throwing migrants under the bus like other parties are. It's just the problem, and as often as a scapegoat, that's a bigger issue in that conversation, but at least on the left, it's not just the problem of migrants, it's the problem of the people. And that's where a lot of these, again, parties that throw migrants under the bus are absolutely failing. They're failing to stick, they're failing to reach an audience of reasonable people. That's where it comes from. So something funny just happened. This fucking game. Yeah, like that's mainly what I'm thinking of. Help the British people first, and then help the migrants. That's the thing that people believe. People want to happen, or to have happen. But because the right is so blindsided by the idea of, again, kicking out migrants, kicking someone to the curb, scapegoating something, someone, yeah, there just isn't much hope in that sense for that sort of thing. It seems like it'll always be a problem so long as people fail to admit that. Again, if you want patriotism, it literally has to be from a perspective of, yeah, like, you have to care about the people first. Not about the people you hate, the people you dislike. In fact, for the many years we've had all these things in the UK that people are saying is now wrong, it was never an issue. Nobody took issue with Muslims, nobody took issue with Jewish people, nobody took issue with Chinese people, Indian people, you name it, any fucking nationality, even Pakistani, whoever it is. But it suddenly became an issue because, well, social media gullibility, and then obviously patriotism is hijacked through racism here. So again, people bring up that it's not, but the problem is it very much is. Whether or not you agree with that statement is something that's proven beyond a doubt. Something that has been shown to be real. And that is hard to refute. It's hard to create a rebuttal against that. So there'll always be issues with it, I think. So such as that. And the other thing I can sort of imagine with this is, if I were to ever wave a flag again for this country, for the UK, on what terms would I do it? Because I sort of imagine, like, maybe I have a family member or something telling them about history in the UK, as just as a thing. They might be asking them what happened during 2026 and 20 whatever it is, 40, whoever knows. And I would be explaining this. I'd be saying everything that's happened, like Reform, the big bad Hitler party just came up and fucked us up, and then got a second Hitler with Restore, I mean. And eventually I want to get to the climax of that entire history where people were fighting for the rights after this disaster, obviously by Reform, Restore. Pretty much the same policy in my opinion. Literally the same policy, I didn't even realise that before. They announced the same policy when Restore came up, which is kind of funny. Never noticed that before. Also shows how pathetic they are. But I want to be explaining this, I want to be saying, we fought against this fascist policy and won. And this is why I wave the flag now. So okay, now it represents someone, or a country that is actually solid gold. They're just extremely valuable and also just extremely caring. Like, if people have a heart of gold, then that's a country I'd be proud of. As it currently stands, that doesn't seem to be a thing, and not everyone is even on board with the idea. So once again, we're back at square one here, I think. Just nobody wants to see the positives, nobody wants to see the change, and people also ignore the consequence. The consequences of their actions, the consequences of whatever it may be. It's completely ignored now. I often wonder as well, with the migrant stuff, how the fuck do you expect like one political party or one prime minister to even deport people on that scale for what, the hundreds of thousands of migrants you probably have, which is also like under 1% of the entire population, so it doesn't make fucking any sense. It's just absolute fucking garbage. And then like Reform, who pulled their numbers up their arse, it's the biggest thing I have to mention there. It's again, on the left side, you're not going to get that sort of misrepresentation. You're not going to get over 800 people made it to the UK over the last week. No such thing. Again, that needs to be proven. And the stats have to be based on reports, obviously. But if this stat is just pulled out of their arse, again based on false reporting, it's like, it's going to have severe consequences. That's another thing, I suppose. It has to be a country that's truthful. It has to be something that's obviously putting people first, I keep mentioning that, but literally putting humanity first. Putting the truth first. That's what it would take to make me patriotic. But even then I just don't really idolise anything or anyone. For some reason people say that Nigel Farrage or even Rupert Lowe are heroes because they speak out against the migration shit that's happening. Yet they're yet to even prove themselves, and yet to even say anything with any sort of evidence, yet to say anything with the reality that oh god, I forgot distracted by a stupid AI video. There's like so many issues here. It's just fucking ridiculous. But I'm waiting for that moment. It's like, have you actually said anything? Have you actually said anything that's valid? Even a single time? Like, barely. Only thing that comes to mind recently, and this is the thing with being unbiased and looking at truth, the only thing that was good that came from Reform is something to do with potholes. They were literally trying to figure this out and fill in potholes, but whether they actually do that or not is another fucking question. But I'm not convinced they will, because they are the party of liars, of Russian assets, and even billionaires, and so are Restore, because now Elon Musk is backing that, so that makes it even more fucking suspicious. So how can I even be patriotic about that? Genuinely, it's fucking baffling. Holy shit. If you get drafted into a war, I'm not going to defend this country. Defend it yourselves. You piece of shit. If you think it's that much worth defending, then go ahead. And honestly, I think they should be drafted. Well, that's my honest opinion, that sort of thing. I think in that sort of situation where we're obviously not going to have many numbers to begin with because people are just shit, they should just be drafted into them. Because they're the ones thinking we're being invaded. Alright? Prove it then. Go and defend the country. So I don't think we're being invaded, at least until war. It's a similar sort of thing. So they believe there's this fucking war happening. Just from the outset. So I don't know. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say there. So I guess I'll move on from this in a sec. Well, this is frankly disturbing. Nigel Farrage is trying to incite riots. And he wasn't arrested for, you know, taking a billionaire fucking donation, as if that wasn't bad enough. And now he's inciting a fucking riot. Like, what is there even to say anymore? It's just pure incompetence from government, the police, and even just the world. This is the sort of thing that they're advocating for. It's not protecting women and children, it's fucking killing them instead. And the thing that's being said here that also needs to be addressed is the fact he's using someone's murder to discuss this. So he's saying that I am addressing the nation on the shocking case of Henry Nurem's murder. White lives matter too. Excuse me? But it's always been in favour of white people. Every single fucking law, every single act that has ever happened has been in favour of white people, except for minorities who, it depends, like, obviously black rights had its right thing to do, had the right thing to do rather, fighting their case many years ago and even recently, of obviously Black Lives Matter. But Jesus fucking Christ, this, as far as I know, isn't even about race. The details are quite vague at the moment, and I've seen the body cam footage, and the police are literally to blame here. They killed someone, I think. That's from what I've read of it anyway. It's just fucking absurd. And then you got Nigel Farrage here just inciting a riot. Literally. And he's using the mask of white people to do this. Thing is, I'm white. Literally a white British person, and this is just extremely fucking offensive. Because it harms any community that could have obviously been influenced by our communities and stuff. Like we're basically all in this together. But this is how you divide us. Which is why I think saying something like this is extremely dangerous. Effectively, it's just extremely fucking absurd. And he's saying it's an emergency address. It's like the thing is, these sort of murders happen on a fucking weekly basis. It's sad that that happens, but you can't avoid it. And yes, whilst it is different because of the fact that someone follows the Sikh religion, which not many people seem to know what that is, and from what I understand, it is the extremist form of Islam. Same way you have different denominations of Christianity. So, if people are saying it's an entirely Islamic attack, that's fucking false. It's to do with the specific denomination, which is Sikhism. And Sikhism is already proven to be harmful. I think that's also where you get Sharia law, if I'm not mistaken. But if you wanted to address that instead. Why the fuck are you bringing white people into it? It's just absolutely fucking ridiculous. And this is how the country's going to go down? Because some old fart who doesn't understand the world thinks that white people are being targeted now. What? Fucking hell, I'm stumbling again. But what about the victims of rape and murder? The white ones. And done by white people. That's not fucking racially motivated. And even then, it's not even fucking related, is it? Unless the crime is strictly related to race. It's like, okay, if the Sikh person was saying like something about specifically white people, calling them trash, also my blinds have broken again. Fucking fix some tape on there. Oh, no, it's just fallen. I'm sorry. ADHD man, certified TM. But, you know, it's just fucking ridiculous. If someone who is attacked for race is demonstrable if it's related to race. So if someone is saying, I hate this guy because he's got this colour skin, that is racially motivated. And that is racism. But in the case of this case, I think, it could very well be religion. But it's obviously not our job to even... Fuck is that? Thunder? Thunder. But you know, it's like our job to actually fucking get distracted and panicking about thunder. Great. You know, it needs to be proven. It's just all I'm saying here. You can't claim there is a racist attack when there is no fucking racism to be found. If it's religiously motivated, then yeah, that can be proven. But at the moment, especially with the amount of people crying wolf saying anti-Semitism, you're not going to find anti-Semitic attacks because it's not being proven. And the way it currently stands, it serves to be a detriment to the victims of these attacks. So Jewish people are at harm from people who cry anti-Semitism. The same way that there could be a Muslim person who's claiming Islamic attacks are too common, saying it's Islamophobia, and then, well, do you know, it's not actually about Islam. Admittedly, not every fucking murderer is going to make a manifesto. That seems to be something that's very exclusive to America, it seems. But you can't be going around assuming things until this is obviously fully investigated and the public has access to the info. Which is why something like this is extremely dangerous. And again, I can't comprehend what influences people to do this sort of thing. Not just to murder, obviously, but just to incite fucking riots and say white lives matter. Problem is, whilst white lives do matter, they're not exactly in the minority here. Which is the point I'm getting to. So, it has to be said that when it comes to these quote-unquote lives matter things, like all lives matter and just white lives matter because people say it, it's the same thing that people do with like pride as well, which is absurd. But it's always down to the minority to have the right to use that. Are straight people in a minority? No. Are cisgender people in a minority? No. So then, what about race? If you can't figure this out, then you're probably extremely dumb. But with race, obviously, when it comes to someone, and it depends on the country, if it's like a minority of black people, then yeah, they are in a minority. But if there's somehow a country where it's like a minority of white people, you know what? Fair enough. Then white lives do matter there. But it's only in that situation. And I've looked at a poll about this, and it was shared earlier. I saw it earlier. I remember it quite well, actually. White people in the UK is currently 84%. But this is like British people. And this isn't taken into account, apparently. I'm not sure if the number is even true, actually. I haven't said that. The other white people. So what the fuck do you mean white lives matter when a good, like, 8% of people probably, it's probably as far as I'd go with that, in terms of predictions, is black people. Like, what the fuck is just going on here? It's quite obvious inciting a riot here, as is Elon Musk, obviously. It wouldn't surprise me if Rupert Lowe also takes this opportunity to do the same thing or something similar. It's just ridiculous. Like, I can't believe shit like this sometimes. There's just no reason for this to exist, and I'm so fucking tired of it. Yeah. Don't really know what else to add, to be honest. It's just one of those things. I'm just sick and tired of hearing this shit, and it's all the same thing every time. People, can you just shut the fuck up? Because when you're crying and yapping about this shit, nobody's going to come and save you. Because you're not actually in danger, you're not in a minority. And from what I understood of the footage from the police and stuff, is the guy who died, Henry, sorry I forgot his name, for saying last name, Henry Nowak. It just seemed like he wasn't doing anything wrong, he was laying there, struggling to breathe, injured, and just being fucking arrested. It's absurd, and then BBC redacted some of the audio, which is just stupid. Like, I don't know what the fuck they're even doing. There's might be other footage, but it's so absurd. So, Eastern John University student was murdered by Vikram Digwar in Southampton, England. Digwar was a 23-year-old British man, cut and stabbed Norak a total of 5 times with a knife. When police arrived, Digwar accused Norak of assault, and officers handcuffed Norak. Police body cam footage showed No, I repeatedly telling the officers he had been stabbed and pleading for help. Yeah, he did call for an ambulance and that. The wiki page, yeah. And he died shortly after being handcuffed. Yeah, I literally saw him die. That's the thing. And they kept asking questions after he fucking died. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's irrelevant that he's even white in this. Sorry. It's call that an IBD file, it's a good sign. No. So this guy's British Polish, so he's the exact demographic that both Reform and what is it? Fuck, what's that one? Restore, that's it. It's two similar names, but you know, similar demographics that these people want to deport, which is absolutely absurd. And this also, by the way, this murder happened all the way back in the 3rd of December. It's also pretty cold outside. But Jesus Christ, it is absolutely ridicululous. Apparently Elon Musk commented on this somehow. Just absolutely strange. Like, I think everyone here can side with the victims. But what else you can't side with is the amount of people who are taking this as an excuse to go witch hunting. To literally go witch hunting for people of Islam, people of whatever it is at this point. It's absolutely fucking absurd. I just don't get this sometimes. It makes no sense. The world is just so backwards. It's not just to do with like what do you call it? You know, politics. It's just everything. Everyone is corrupted in a way. Also, this guy is way too young to die. It's so fucking sad. Apparently there's a second person convicted there, Kevin Carr. What is he not talked about then? Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say here other than arrest Nigel Farrage. The guy's obviously corrupt and he's trying to incite violence. As of the Independent did an article on this. Was this all day recently? Yeah, it was today. Huh. See, I don't know why they just don't release the body cam footage literally the moment it happens. Because there is like an entire reason to show it. It's just fucking absurd. And probably the part that I'm more interested in here is obviously what apparently the Sikhs are saying, according to this article. Following the case of Sikh Federation UK has said it's not about Sikhism or racism, but about the unlawful killing of Henry Noack. The organisation also said they'd be raising awareness of the law and guidance around carrying a kirpan, ceremonial knives. They said now that the trial is over, we want to make absolutely clear the law only provides for the practicing Sikhs with a defence under the law to wear a kirpan for religious reasons. If a kirpan or bladed item is used aggressively in an act of violence, defence under the law for a kirpan does not apply and is deemed an offensive weapon. Good and bad points here. So I think the bad thing we can obviously say, again, it's dangerous. From what I understood of Sikhism, from assuming I've got it right, I might be confusing it with something else now. I haven't thought about that. There's like a type of extremism which literally... Seriously, what is that noise? There is a type of extremism where Islam will literally be... what is it? They'll be targeting non-believers. And it's a commonplace for them to have women who wear extremely covering burqas, and I can't remember what it is the men do. I think they'll also carry out killings as well. It's like extremely fucked up stuff. It's almost cult behaviour, I think. It probably is a cult. But obviously nobody should be fucking carrying a weapon for religious reasons. It's like saying, I believe in unicorns, so I'm going to carry a gun. It doesn't work like that. That is fucking ridiculous. It shouldn't be normalised at all, and religious protections need to be re-evaluated because, as it currently stands, even though we've got to respect people's beliefs, some things just can't be allowed, and this is one case. Again, knives being used to murder people, but then you also have to look at the demographic of Sikh people. How many of these armed with a knife have actually committed acts of violence and murder? Like, you never know. But then the one part I can sort of, I guess, agree with a bit here is an act of violence rather than for the religion. So, yeah. Well, this just happened anyway, so I'll try to figure out where the noise is coming from, see if it's Russia. Those clouds do not look friendly though, is it though? I'm not sure if they're thunderclouds or trout. It hasn't even really been raining, so I don't know. But anyway, yeah, let's move on. One Piece. Its room. I just finished the Egghead arc. Because that's where I left off last time. And I was about episode 1125, I believe. Around that, I think, or 23 maybe. But of course, I didn't finish it because it wasn't fully dubbed at that point. So I was still waiting for that to happen, to be honest, and I can't really watch Japanese dubs anymore. I've tried it and done it before, but I've found it hard to follow. So it's just better to wait, in my opinion, in my situation, rather. It's not really an opinion. So I waited, and it obviously happened. They finished dubbing it, and it's good. I think that it's almost peak, I'd say. It's peak in the areas, it's very fucking good. It's actually crazy how emotional it made me feel. Just something that I can't even claim for certain other animes out there. Who just like animes based on manga. Yeah, it genuinely surprised me. That did. It's kind of like, it's one of those things you just don't expect that sort of level of emotion in a series like this, which is an action adventure comedy. And also, who's making that fucking noise out there? You're hearing random tapping noises outside my door. I don't know. It's just someone trying to be a prick, I think. Can't tell. But anyway. Yeah, Egghead Island is, I think it's almost as peak as Wano. Because Wano itself was an entire fucking roller coaster, and I really enjoyed it for that. It had so many things going on, so many storylines, and did it pretty damn well, in my opinion anyway. Not like everyone agrees with it, because I'm pretty sure people don't like Wano. Some saying it's too long, and others saying it's just, yeah. Some valid, some very unvalid opinions, in my opinion. But I don't know, the areas it does top it and other areas doesn't. I know when I first started watching the Egghead arc, I wasn't sure about where it was going with this, well, it's no spoiler, but futuristic place. Because that's obviously what it's hinted at. So obviously if you haven't gotten to the arc yet, it's not worth listening to the review. So, I just feel weird. Also, I could see blue light in the back of my eye. What the fuck? It's so weird. I've never seen that before. Doing my artwork and that's happening for some reason. It's freaky. That's freaky. Anyway. So yeah, where do I even start with this arc? I guess I tried to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, but I think the animation is probably one of the first points to make. Compared to Wano, I don't think it is as animated. I don't think, I could be wrong. There are certainly areas where it is, but it's a bit more stylized in this, for better and for worse. And also the area itself is a bit more CGI too, which I think was a good choice because it's probably really hard to just draw new scenes every time. So I don't really floor anyone for using, say, like assets like in 3D renders or CGI or whatever it is. I'll say CGI, it's probably just 3D render. But it's a good style they've done right, and it was done well here. So again, I can't fault it. So I definitely liked it. There's again a bit more stylized, you notice like different pen strokes and stuff. There are some oversimplifications, which is probably my biggest complaint about it. So for example, when there's like, for example, fire, I noticed towards the end of the arc, when there was a bit of fire, there seemed to be like just lines of it, rather than the actual waving effect, which itself isn't actually that hard to animate. So I don't exactly understand what's going on there. This is like a law reason. But fire just didn't look like fire. And I'm bad with making it, but I'm not that bad. It's weird. It's kind of almost like a early 2000s Toei animation came back. So it's a bit strange from an artist's perspective. What else is there? Oh yeah, the character designs. Like, admittedly, I wasn't sure where this was going when I saw those character designs. My immediate thought was like, what the fuck are they doing with this arc? This doesn't feel like One Piece, and then eventually it makes sense. It just sort of clicks into place. It's like, oh, okay. I see where this is going now, and it sort of is forgivable from that perspective. I do like that. And I did end up enjoying it, and especially with the designs of characters. Like, I think Atlas is adorable. I don't know why she was such a sideline character in this arc. It felt very strange to me. But she has such a good design. It's pretty unique as well. But obviously Vegapunk as well, just very fucking unique. Obviously we're going to meet him. Let's see if you watch the arc. Another one's York. Just, I don't know, I'm not keen on York, but you'll see why eventually. Who else? Lilith was alright. But also like Edison and like the Daft Punk guy, I can't remember his name. And obviously like Stella being the original Vegapunk, there's not really any point in that. And the other guy, number 2 was it? Oh, I forgot. They have unique designs and they remind me of... Hang on. They're all pretty much Mega Man characters. I just fucking realised that. It makes sense now. I see it. But I do like that, even though I'm not a Mega Man person. I don't really play the games. It's never really appealed to me, to be honest. So I sort of get the story and the ideas. I just don't really think I would like playing it. But I see the influence here from it. Obviously, a bit of Dr. Wily, a bit of the creations as well. It's quite obviously I'm inspired by that. I could be wrong, but to me that's what it's like. What else is there? Yeah, obviously the Straw Hat's got a redesign in this, much like their Wano counterparts. I'm not sure what it is with Oda and redesigning them. So they already sort of were distinct in their own way, but I guess they're trying to fit in or something. So I'm not 100% sure exactly what the point was, especially given the end of the arc. It just seemingly, well, spoiler but not spoiler, get rid of it. It didn't even explain why. So I don't really get the my other criticism of like the visuals. And it is a very sci-fi, it can't ignore that aspect. It's extremely sci-fi. So I'm not 100% sure, but again it feels very Mega Man inspired in that case. So it's again one of those things. Not very sure how to describe it. So what else? That's about it, but talking of arts, Voice acting. I think the voice acting is pretty good. It's about the same as you could expect. Some peak, some not so surprising. And also, it took me so long to realise that Frankie had the same voice actor as Endeavour in My Hero Academia, so now when I hear Frankie just fanboying over Slay, I'm just like imagining it with Endeavour, and it's like, okay, bleach that from my memory 10 times a day. Yeah. Also, it's the voice actor's job, I get it. But it's fine. Yeah, I can't floor it. But yeah, I think it's fine. The voice acting is good. I don't think it's anything that special. Though, I swear there was a crying scene, or maybe I'm thinking of My Hero Academia now. I swear there was like a crying scene that was like really fucking good. But yeah, again, I can't really fault this. Voice acting just good. That's all I'd say. What else? What to do next? It's already gone into most of it. I guess, is it story time? I guess story. The story is quite long, and even though it doesn't seem like it would be, it feels like it goes on for quite a while, given that it's about, hang on, how many episodes? It's like, oh no. No, it can't be. I was thinking of the meme number for some reason. I know it's like amount of episodes. It's about 76 or 66. I think it's 66 actually. Which is actually quite short for an arc, but it's also kind of makes sense. It kind of, yeah, I think it deserved that long in a way. Because there isn't like too much to Egghead in itself. There's definitely a lot of surprises there, some things I wasn't expecting, but some things I was. It's not too predictable in that sense, so I can happily report. Cause sometimes there are aspects of the story, I think, based on what I remember, where it is very predictable, but some of it wasn't. And that also deserves props. I think by far one of the best parts of this, which no doubt, I'll have to go and look at the IMDb page quick. So, IMDb, One Piece. I'll try and go to the later episodes. But it's so fucking emotional and funny. And just so well done. It is insane how good it is. But I laughed and cried so much during this fucking arc. More so than others. Which is really saying something. It is just insane. So, how do I even view it? By episode. How am I going to scroll by the episodes? Ratings by episodes. Top rated, that's it, because it's probably top rated. Episode 377. Here it is. Episode 1136. Then 1153. There's even a 101 there, which I wasn't expecting. But yeah, basically these two episodes, although I would argue less so for 1153. But Kuma's life is just so fucking good. It's like some of the most gut-wrenching storytelling there is. It's so insanely good. Like, it's unbelievably good. I genuinely couldn't believe it when I saw this. It's like absolutely shocking. Yeah, it's just peak storytelling by One Piece in my opinion. So I think that's obviously worth watching for that alone, because it's that good. It's just such good storytelling. You would expect nothing less from Oda anyway, but it is just so good here. It's peak. In terms of like backstory, but it goes even further in my opinion with some of the later episodes as well, where they actually go into like Vegapunk sort of stuff and his shock reveal moments, which I wasn't seeing coming at all. I sort of expected something, but that was not what I was expecting at all. So it just came out of nowhere. But it surprised me and delighted me either way. Um, yeah, like, again, it's just such good storytelling. In terms of action, I will mention this. Obviously, assuming people know Gear 5 Luffy, but I'm also surprised how well they handle Gear 5 Luffy, because I only realised it watching this arc. But they use it as a way to just be goofy about things, so they sort of don't take it too seriously with Gear 5 Luffy, and the point is he's stupidly overpowered, as he is Gear 5, but it's not exactly to take away from the combat, it's rather to replace it. And the same thing is what I've noticed in Wano, looking back on it, the way they also animated his fight with Kaido. I think it's just a replacement for the action, and it's different because now Luffy's so fucking overpowered, he doesn't even need to worry, he just sits there and does nothing sometimes and then moves other times. But that's exactly how they do it. But it's actually insanely clever. So I do like Gear 5 Luffy even more, realising this. It's such a unique perspective to have on, obviously, like the standard in anime or manga, where it's always like combat sort of shit. It's always epic and there's always something stylised about it. But here it's like done so well that I cannot fault it. I just like the aspect that they don't take it seriously, and that's the gimmick. And that's what I like about it so much. So yeah, what else is there to say on that? I suppose the other bits of action are kind of interesting in areas. I can't remember the earliest bit of Egghead too well, anyway. I remember some of it. But I know that some of the action was quite tense. I remember when the Reddit was like exploding with the new stuff and whatever. Yeah, seeing that Kizaru was making an appearance and one of the 5 elders. But I won't spoil the rest. But it's a very interesting aspect, and I did enjoy that perspective. Yeah, it's definitely a lot different in other ways. And also it showed you how high the stakes are in terms of the story. Which I suppose is the other part, is that the story is peak, and yeah, compared to Wano it's not as good, but it's still good. There's a lot of revealing here as well, I will say. It definitely came as a surprise. You wouldn't really expect it, but they did it. And it's surprising again with the Kuma lore that it's actually insane how emotional that lore is, and how much it makes sense when you look at it. Like, it's so fucking clever. Again, I said it before in my original review, but Oda never forgets. Literally doesn't forget a single fucking thing. So yeah, it's a bit... It is good. I'm not sure where I was going with that. It's so enjoyable. And I'm glad I waited for the dub as well, because that made it so much easier to watch and slash listen to, because obviously I'm doing artwork on the side whenever I watch anime, or whatever it is. It was easy enough to concentrate on and get everything. Although, to be honest, I have a complaint about Crunchyroll. It used to be good for closed captions, but now it's terrible. They seem to have unsynced it for some reason. And now every closed caption after a certain amount of episodes and Egghead is just unsynced, so you start getting random dialogue like, what the heck is that? And they're saying it as the character's audio is saying, oh, okay. It's like, it's not even the same thing. One's exclaiming something and the other's just talking, and the captions don't even sync up. It became apparent that it's unsynced because the dialogue appears later. Okay. Thanks, Crunchyroll. Yeah, I'm paying for this, so what the fuck are you doing? Makes no sense. Yeah. Trying to think. Oh, there's another thing, actually. I did find issues with story slash characters, and this one is a bit spoilery, but keep that in mind. It's about Bonnie, and this will go into the spoiler territory, and obviously I think my recommendation for the arc is yes, watch it, and you will love it as a One Piece fan. But by far the most disgusting part of this arc has to do with Sanji and Bonnie. Bonnie, as you may know, is one of the new generation pirates, or the worst generation rather. Also, I really skimmed over Rock's pirates. I just remembered that. I was a bit disappointed in it. It was very interesting to see though. But anyway, also Buccaneer's Blood, so I skipped over that a bit, but with Bonnie and Sanji, I am extremely creeped out. What the fuck were you thinking? It's literally pedo shit. And it just makes Sanji's character really unbearable now. By far one of the biggest disappointments in this arc with enough. Because it seems like they're treating Bonnie as if she's an adult in some ways, but not in others, and so they have this like really hypersexualized version of her, as with her age through, which is the thing she has. She can even go elderly, as you might see later on. But this hid the fact that she was actually underage. She's actually just over 10 years old. So you could probably see where this is going. Extremely fucking creepy. Again, what were they thinking? Because I completely spoiled everything when I noticed that. It's like, she's not even the same age as Luffy, which is crazy. Only when she uses a fruit, but she's not the same age mentally. And then you got Sanji going over to her, obviously the age of 17 as she disguises herself, pretending, well, no, he's not pretending, he is interested, but he's like perving over her, which I find so fucking weird. And the only character who weirdly enough acknowledges her for her age is Frankie, at least from what I've noticed. And Frankie is saying that I got you little sis and stuff to her. What the fuck is going on? It's so weird. I don't get why they did that. It's extremely creepy, and you'll get a bunch of butthurt fans who are probably saying right now that, oh, it doesn't matter, it's like fictional. Yeah, it's fictional, but the same problem here is like they should glorifying paedophilia. And also doing the same with Sanji's character, which yes, we probably did already know that he was in other ways, because he appeared in a film once, I forgot which one it was. It's like Other Stampede or Code Z. I can't remember the name of it actually. But there's like one Piece movie, where Sanji was literally perving over young Nami. It's just, it's so fucking bad, and I think at that point they're going to have to cut that from the Netflix series. Although it did make me wonder as well, with the series, like how are they going to fucking do it in Netflix? Not just like the budget and the animation and the CGI and stuff, but also how the hell are they even going to act it? Because it's so fucking emotional. I'm just going to see a bunch of clips when that time comes in like, what, 10, 20 years possibly, where it's just the cast just crying all the time because they read the script. It's like, oh my god, I can't do this. I'd be surprised if anybody is able to do it, but holy shit. But yeah, let's hope they remove the Perv Sanji bit with Bonnie. They probably can't even release it with that in it, so that'd be a blessing, I think. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add to this, to be honest. It's just one of those things. I kind of really love this series, but they can't keep getting away with this shit. Just extremely creepy. And it just isn't, it shouldn't be there. The thing is, it's rated, what? I saw the rating, 14 plus, yeah, that's about right. Sort of had a similar issue with My Hero Academia, if I'm not mistaken, with like, I'll say a character like Midnight, the R-rated hero, quote unquote. But it just feels so unnecessary in areas. And they just go to the extra mile for some reason to over-sexualise its characters, which I just can't make sense of. It's already bad enough as it is. it's even worse in some ways, and especially like the way Nami dresses in this, it's just, good god. I think even Robin did, actually, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I forgot to talk about the ending, so probably the non-spoilery people are gone now, but for those who are still there. The ending is somewhat satisfying, somewhat revealing as well. But I will say it's a bit disappointing too, especially episode 1154. I think it's just a bit of a sort of lowball sort of thing. It seemed like they're trying to explain something that could already be figured out in a way. Although it's kind of clever to see, but just it felt a bit unnecessary, to be honest. Because it didn't really become relevant until now. Nobody was even questioning it. It felt like a retcon, basically. I think that's what I'm saying. But yeah, I think as far as the anime goes, it's good, and I obviously can't wait for Elbath. Like, Jesus Christ, finally. Seeing Elbath, and there's already a previews of it out, but I'm still going to do the same thing as I did last time. Wait for the full dub, and then give it a watch. Although the only problem with that is the ending might happen before that happens. This is a thing I hate about anime. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. That's the fact that the dubs take so long. It's not that I'm waiting like, you know, a short amount of time. It's not a problem. I'm not waiting for it for a short amount of time. It's just how fast it gets done feels absurd to me. How slow I mean. That's the main issue for me. It's just on a personal level, but for others it's probably different because I'm not really, one of those Japanese dubs watchers. I used to be, fun facts. I watched the entirety of JoJo like that, I believe. It's always funny hearing Joseph Joestar actually saying Americanisms. It's funny. Probably one of the best parts of the anime. Yeah, like why can't it just be instant? Like not instant as in like next day, but week or two after. That way, it's not far behind. I sort of struggle to understand that in a certain way, but at the same time, I get that there used to be like sessions and stuff for it, so they do it in like batches. But I don't know. There has to be some solution where they coordinate with, obviously, the Western dubbing. Because honestly, I don't think this is very acceptable. Its current state, and it leaves people in the dark. And I think English dubbers only probably struggle with this, like I do. It just doesn't feel great, in my opinion. So that stuff needs to change, as I said. It would be good to see it change. I don't know. There could be missing something entirely here again. It's definitely up for debate at this point. But yeah, what else do I even add here? It's just a thing, I suppose. It's just great anime, but it needs to see the work done quicker, for the lack of the correct term. But again, I'm hoping like I'm not asking too much, and there's probably some explanation I'm not realising. Also, sometimes dubs come out months after, rather than weeks, and I just don't get that either. It's sort of the reason why I fell off of the Pokemon Journeys anime, because, yeah, like, they were getting it done pretty quick, but also, it's also too far in between each episode. I remember, like, waiting there weeks before a dub even appeared. I'm not sure if it's because of the SAG-AFTRA or whatever, SAG-AFTRA, whatever you call it. Whenever that was happening. I'm not sure if it's still relevant, having said that. But obviously I hope it's been resolved. The less hours slot we have, the better. Anyway, I ain't got anything else to add to this, so I shall move on from this. I never thought I'd be saying this, but maybe a riot in the UK would be a good thing. To some extent. Not always a good thing, but I think it will expose the people who literally need to be exposed. It's obviously with that Nigel tweet, it's quite scary to think that we're potentially going throughout the US, so obviously with a different thing entirely, or not entirely, but obviously the colour of someone's skin. And what it seems like is trying to be done here is Nigel is trying to incite literal riots because of something that happened last year in December. And the blame is on specifically non-white people, so that includes mixed race, black people, and hell, even probably people with tans, because they'll probably be mistaken as well for being different colour. But this as well could end up being one of the better things for the UK, because it will just expose idiots who, again, do these idiotic things. I know I'm prepared for this, because if someone ever tries to get in here, well, I can't guarantee they'll get out. That's the problem. I've been training essentially for years in terms of my physical strength. So yeah, obviously I hand them off to the police, but it's just fucking sick that people seem to think hatred and violence is the answer to these problems, and then as an unfortunate situation like this, like riots, they're gonna break into people's houses and drag them away. Just literally for the reason, for the crime of being born black, for the crime of being born into a religious family. I had a mixed sort of upbringing. I had both a mother and father to sort of deal with, but separate houses, separate, obviously, like families. And, I got brought up pretty much with both saying one thing and me not being able to decide. But I can't change that. So, Rupert Lowe's idea of having a Christian law, rather, to rule the society, even though it's basically Sharia law, is frankly extremely dangerous. And, you can't persecute me on the basis that I was brought up with both a Christian parent and an atheist. Like, you can't do anything about that. So, these sort of things don't make any sense. No matter how you look at it, it is frankly absurd. But I suppose I have to talk about what I mean by riots being a good thing, and this is just self-exposure. The people who would do this sort of thing, who would actually go and riot, even just a small amount of people, which it seems to be honest, because I doubt you're going to see any people in like their turbo wheelchairs actually going out and rioting, and there's probably some idiots out there who actually do use a wheelchair and believe anything these two cunts say. But this is what's happening, and if they do this, then they expose themselves and hopefully get arrested and get obviously charged for quite a while. That'd be beneficial, especially to like the polls and stuff, in terms of electoral votes and even just the narrative in general. The world is shit at the moment, and even though there's going to be a lot of destruction as a result of said riots, it's more than likely that these people are going to get a taste of their own medicine, because it's actually the people who have families that are the strongest. And so you also see a case where people are stupid enough to enter, I don't know, let's say a black man's home. He has a family of children and obviously a wife, or maybe even a husband, you never know. But they decide to go in there thinking, yeah, let's get rid of this black cunt. Then they just get a taste of their own medicine, because it turns out, well, maternal bonds, not that they're maternal, but I mean, having that bond with your children, caring about them so much, will give you that extra strength. So it does end up backfiring in that sense. So these idiots who think that they've got the upper hand will just get their asses kicked. Which is the other benefit of this, as I've said. I haven't got much to live for in my own life, but the reason why I sort of focus on defence is so that I can defend the defenceless. So if I end up being the target, then, well, who never else God, because, you know, I'm not going to let someone else be a target then. That just goes without saying. But people really underestimate others. Like, they think they see, you know, that cliche woke person with dyed hair, maybe jewelry, maybe even tattoos, and maybe look a bit out of place with appearance. Like, honestly, that's a fair criticism, but also it's not really meaning that they're woke. That's the thing, you get plenty of people who are woke who wear that thing, that sort of style. But anyway, you know, you underestimate those people, and then you pay the price for it because you're so blinded by hatred and stupidity that you just don't see it coming. These are people who know more than you, who understand the world more than you, and immediately putting yourself at risk is just asking, as well, it's almost like a suicide mission, I guess you could call it, but more of like character and just general knowledge. So yeah, but again, that's the sort of only benefit I see from this sort of thing. But also it will, hopefully, in some ways, maybe, I doubt that it will, because it seems like Keir Starmer is a US asset at this point, an Israeli asset as well. But it'd be far better than, obviously, protesters being targeted, and I think it should be a wake-up call if he isn't an asset, which I think should go without saying. Because I think the only way he could prove he isn't a fucking asset at this point is if he actually does things right. But with that code of conduct, because code of conduct? I don't know, but whatever the stupid thing was recently with ruling that trans people should be treated and judged and presented based on biological sex. Whatever the fuck that means. Because many biologists disagree with that. It's so fucking dumb. People claim to be biologists, but they're not. Only biologists who've actually studied the field and can demonstrate, which is the important part, because some people do, or rather do go through the education process and then come out of it saying, oh yeah, you can only be a man if you have two negative Y chromosomes, whatever the fuck you call it. But, you know, some of them do that. But the people who can demonstrate it are the ones who have the evidence, who have the facts on their side. And, you know, looking at something like these really dumb guidelines for how to treat a trans person, it just really backfires, because guess what? They are already biological sex if they are transitioning. Just why this doesn't make sense. Just fucking absurdity. So what the fuck is that noise? That doesn't sound like a car. It sounds really weird. You know? Camera. Yeah, well that is. Because the sun's setting, it looks like a nuke's going off. Nice. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that was. It sounded futuristic. Don't think it sounded like a drone. Could be wrong. Anyway, you know, with the guidelines, you know, it proves that they're not actually human. They don't actually care about LGBTQ plus people. And yeah, there's a lot of really dumb arguments that come out as a result of some of these things. Like, people will say, oh good, trans people didn't deserve rights anyway. You do realise they've always existed, right? And even though you don't find it in nature, it most likely does exist. Because you never know what an animal's thinking. You know, if they're exposed to enough females, for example, a male's exposed to too many females, they'll probably start to develop feelings around wanting to be a female. Like, you never know. It's entirely possible. Nothing's out of the question. Also, it's hard given language. You know, we already know that homosexuality is a thing in nature. yeah, when it comes to obviously humans, we have the advantage of being intelligent, so we can actually understand what we mean by these things. So something like gender dysphoria. But once again, when it comes to transitioning, which is what I was going to, it changes your biological sex. So what's on the birth certificate doesn't even apply, because you've now changed it. Depending on the type of treatment you get, it just changes. I think if you get like estrogen, for example, you start to develop characteristics of the female body. So I think you get wider hips and obviously wider thighs, and also maybe a bit more breast tissue if I'm not mistaken. I think you can get it naturally. Although I'm not 100% sure on that, because I don't really research this sort of thing, to be honest. I just know what I know from people who have researched it. And that tends to be a good way to look at it from a simple perspective. But again, the transition is biological. So these guidelines don't make sense, and they don't even apply. That's the thing, it completely is irrelevant, so long as the transitionee, whatever you call them, is literally transitioning. Again, depends on the stage they're at. If they can pass as appearing female, which I guarantee you they can, then nobody's going to notice, nobody's going to care. Not a single woman in the UK, or wherever it is at this point, is going to give a shit. And this is the other thing that I realised earlier I was going to say. You've more than likely passed more trans women than other people have, or can, rather. But what I mean by that is, you don't even know that trans women are women. They're literally among us, not sus though, just to make that clear. But they are everywhere, and you just don't even notice it. Like, yes, there may be a 1% of the population, or maybe just even below. But the point is, you've more than likely passed one in your lifetime, maybe even more than that. And that's even just by strictly not being aware of it, or even being in like an LGBTQ plus space. God, it reminds me of some of that stupid shit I saw from a big like transphobe somewhere, like completely delusional, targeting like small Facebook groups and small profiles, bullying like trans children into killing themselves, even though she was, or he rather, was trans himself. Just fucking nuts. It's just, it never makes any sense when you hear those sort of stories, because it just seems to be malicious reasons and delusion, which itself is a sign of another mental health problem. Yeah, but again, you don't even know when someone is trans, because they pass as trans people, they pass as the gender they're appearing as. And even then, there is like cases where people literally hide their transphobia, use it as a mask, and then end up being the most fucking addicted to trans porn out there. You see it in like, I remember that Pornhub thing from a while ago in Texas, where I can't remember if it was a survey or search result thing. They literally exposed the entirety of Texas, and Texas are like the most trans-obsessed people in terms of porn that there is. And, you know, I guarantee you, looking at the comment sections from those videos, there aren't any like transphobic comments. Literally never. I'm not sure if that's because maybe it's well moderated or what. But I can guarantee you the reason that they're looking at it is because they're closeted. They actually like how trans women look. Unfortunately, one to a penis, but that's a different topic than fuck chasers. But that's sort of where we're at with this. People actually do closet themselves over this and harm them for it, which is frankly fucking absurd. Myself being pansexual, for example, I will say this about myself. I don't care if a trans woman has a penis or a vagina. To me, both are as attractive, and you know, it matters more what a trans person thinks rather than what I think. because a lot of people see this very selfishly, and that's the mistake of chasers as well. They seem to think it's maybe really arousing to look at trans women that way, treat them like objects, or maybe just because they have the two best parts of a person. Again, in these cases where one doesn't have bottom surgery, they have like breasts and a penis, and people really hyperfixate on that to disgusting degrees, and again harm trans people as a result, both as the sort of I prefer you like this, or just the way that they act as if they don't care. It's extremely harmful, but keeping that like that is just harmful. You have to acknowledge at some point that a trans woman with a penis is just beautiful. That's the thing you have to come to terms with, and obviously it doesn't really take guts, really. I think it's just a thing. It's just natural, it's attraction. It's the same way that we have preferences for types of, in a straight relationship, for example, people have a preference for certain women. And even gay relationships, some people have a preference for certain types of men. And it's probably the same with lesbians, the same with any other sort of sexuality, even not agender, I think asexual. It's the same thing there. Because believe it or not, asexual is a spectrum, but they can feel attraction as well. It's like nobody's excluded. It's not everyone, to be clear, is a spectrum. So there are people who literally don't feel anything. But that's the point. You just need to stop running away from these fucking emotions, and no doubt a bunch of people at the EHRC probably feel this way. They're probably trans porn obsessed as well. But again, running away from this is not the solution. There's no fucking shame in it. I watch plenty of it. I watch plenty of trans porn. But the difference is, I'm viewing trans people as they want to be viewed. Trans women are trans, well, they're women. And trans men are obviously men. So that's where it should be left at. It's sort of similar in this, I guess, like, in terms of the riots, and tries to make a big turn on this topic again, do a big U-turn. I think that people just need to come to terms with the fact that they actually are probably closeting feelings for certain people. So when it comes to people of a different race, like, to be honest, you probably respect them, and that's probably why you want to target them and pick on them. You probably respect gay people, you probably respect disabled people more so than anyone else is, most likely, again, being closeted. And the irony is, they're probably, there could be gay people, there could be, like, for example, Pakistani as well. And they could be targeting those related people. And that's where you can find the problems. It's almost like a self-hatred sort of situation. Doesn't make sense. It's almost like jealousy is taking priority, but the shame of sort of coming out is the biggest deal breaker, it seems. And also it's about image as well. That's something that people seem to fixate a lot on, especially around far-right politics. They seem to think image is everything, and then they do something stupid like point out that Zach Polanski has done like boob hypnotherapy, as if that's like the worst thing he's done, which it isn't in my opinion. In fact, the worst two things he's done recently, the Golden Screen attack thing, where he shared a post criticising the police. People made a big exaggeration out of that. I don't think it was as bad as people say it is, especially if you've thought about it. Empathy, by the way, that's a hint. Also, it's the way he's treating the current situation with the lack of Green MPs at the EHRC Parliament meeting thing, or Parliament statements, whatever you call it. So, again, people just don't fucking think anymore. They don't think for themselves, they don't think for others. So yeah, even though I'm really harsh on fascists at the moment, again, literally encouraging imprisonment and deportation of them, I do think that there is obviously a lot of people who are closeted about these sort of things. don't take them seriously enough. Again, there's no shame in admitting you like certain people, you like certain religions. Like, maybe the problem with Islamophobia isn't that people dislike their religion. It's probably to do with the fact that they do like it. They've got cool fucking churches, or mosques, technically speaking. And they have some decent practices as well as freedom. As far as I know, like, Islam probably has some of the most freedom in terms of religion that there is. Because you're not restricted to like heaven and hell, I don't think. I could be wrong about that, but it's based on what I've known people talking about the Quran have said. And compared to Christianity, which is a similar situation, by the way, Christianity is much more restricting, and that's probably why people are jealous. But again, there's no shame in admitting you like these things. And I know I'm going to piss off a lot of people for saying that, but literally that's what I feel is happening here. Because nobody is honest about anything. The moment you say you haven't got evidence for these sort of things, when they actually haven't got evidence, and you can prove that as well, it's like they throw a tantrum. And that's when you know you've won. Because they can't actually prove these sort of things. Yeah, don't really know what else to add, to be honest, but let's hope that closet Islam practices, or whatever you call them, and whoever the Pakistani lovers are actually gonna not riot and maybe do the right thing and start looking into supporting communities and stuff. You don't know. It very much could be a possibility, but again, with the riots, at least it will expose the people who are the most dangerous to society. The ones gullible enough to take on social media and literally believe it verbatim. But yeah, I don't have anything else to add, so let's move. No, actually, to an outro. Fuck it. I've gone on for a while, so I kind of have to do that anyway. Yeah, I guess thanks for listening, watching, something. I'll see everyone next time.